Good afternoon, Mr. Young.
Good afternoon. How are you?
I'm okay. How are you?
I'm good, thanks.
You have a good 4th of July?
I did.
Good, good. Give me 1 second. I sound okay?
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay. All right, Ms. Ackerman, I see you have us tonight. If everybody can come on up. A second. There we go. Files are moving slow. Okay, Ms. Young, could you start the recording, please? Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Anthony Hood, and tonight's case is a continuation of Zoning Commission case number 24-15. This is the 901 Monroe Street LLC. I will incorporate the opening comments from our first hearing session into this particular hearing session. And joining me today are Vice Chair Miller, Commissioner Ema Moore, Commissioner Wright, and Commissioner Stidham, as well as our Office of Zoning staff, Ms. Ella Ackerman, Mr. Paul Young, who will be handling all of our virtual operations, and Mr. Dennis Liu. And we have a specific procedure and order that we're going to continue to follow as we continue to file through this case. Ms. Ackerman, I believe we're starting with persons in support, but do we have any preliminary matters first?
No, we do not.
Okay, so you have the list of the persons who are in support. I understand we have a few names, and we'll go through those who are in support.
Yes. Okay, so if you're ready now, I will call up the first 5 in support.
Yeah, why don't you call up 4? So
4,
it's in the
okay.
screen. Yes, thank you.
Sounds good. We'll in here. So the first 4 will be Michael Lambright, Ty Gulick, Michelle May, and Stephen Farrell.
Okay, we can bring all those up, names who were called. And I will do my best to call the names that I see on my screen when they come up.
I did not see any of those 4 on.
Okay, let's go to the next 4, Ms. Ackerman.
Got it. Tony Tomaldon, Martin Weldon, Dale, I'm going to spell this last name, Szpisjak, and then Gordon Chafin. Is that 3 or 4? Let's see. If that was 3.
I only got 2 of them on out of those.
Let's call 2 more till we get 4.
I'll call 2 more. Benjamin Casper and Nidhi Menkiti. See if those 2 are available.
I had 1 of them.
Okay. How about Jack Hermes?
I do not see him on.
Okay, let's see. Do you have any more, Ms. Ackerman?
I don't believe so. That's all that I have here signed up so far for performance.
Okay, Mr. Young, if you could keep an eye on the echo, that may be me. But if you can keep an eye, if everybody else can mute, we would appreciate it. Okay, if you could keep an eye on the attendance, Mr. Young, and see if any of those names come in, and we will hear from them in support. Okay, so first let's start off with Mr. Weldon, and then we'll go to Mr. Jack, but I'm sure you'll correct me. And then we will let's start off with Mr. Weldon first, and then Mr. Scott Zipzak. But I know I messed that up. Mr. Weldon, you may begin.
Good afternoon. Can you guys hear me?
I can't hear you that well. Let me turn my sound up.
I wasn't able to get my camera on. Oh, hold on. It says start video. All righty. It should be starting. Give me 1 second here. So let me just go ahead and begin. I'm not sure why it's not coming in. My name is Martin Weldon. I'm a lifelong Washingtonian, and I'm here to express my support, Mr. Chairman Hood, and to the members of the Zoning Committee in support for the 901 Monroe Street project. while I have a professional relationship working as a realtor with the Minkiti Group, I have actually helped many residents come into the community, and they've been looking forward to various components and additional density within our community, and they have been in support of it. And I've actually helped some residents create small businesses along our various commercial corridors over time, really over the last 19 years here in this community. And I've lived in this community for the last 20. And it's really about looking at this group as experienced developers and residents who are deeply rooted within our community. And they've actually listened to the neighbors. And it's really what 901 Monroe Street brings is the potential for local hiring, small business growth, along with long-term job creation within our community, as we have within our own organization. It just brings additional components to it. And really, this is a catalyst for inclusive development that supports workers and empowers entrepreneurs within our community by building a community that is built correctly, with looking for things that are very intentional and sustainable. And with that said, I just urge this community to move forward with this project of 901 Monroe Street, because it's a smart investment, both for the people and the place, and also for DC's future. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Weldon. We may have some questions if you can hold tight for a minute. Dale Scott, forgive me for messing up your last name. If you can help us with that, and you may begin.
Hello, everyone. My name is Dale Scott Spizak. Good evening. I live a few blocks away from the site, and I typically walk by it, especially at the Monroe Street side of the block, multiple times per week. And ever since I moved to the neighborhood, I've wondered why such a large plot was vacant. And even before I knew about the ongoing attempts to develop the piece of land, I thought it would be a very good site for an apartment building due to its proximity to the metro, and also because of its size. And I also thought this would be appropriate because that sort of building would provide a stronger connection between Brookland and Edgewood. Currently, the vacant site creates what I experience as an uninviting dead zone, which fragments these neighborhoods. And the improvements, I think, will be especially noticeable at night, as currently that stretch of Monroe Street feels quite deserted after dark. And my frequent contact with the site has kept this top of my mind during my time in the area, especially because how unpleasant the narrow sidewalk with the utility poles is. And this development would add an attractive building, improving the sidewalks and the pedestrian realm. And then additional housing will provide a larger customer base for nearby businesses, which is something that came up a lot in the previous meeting. And I think having this site developed will be a more inviting image for Brookland to present to both current and future residents, as well as visitors, than the current condition of the site. Thank you.
Thank you. Also, let me just acknowledge that I think I may have done this. Our Office of Zoning Legal Division, Mr. Dennis Liu. I think I did, but I want to make sure for the record. All right, let's go to Mr. Casper.
Good afternoon, Chairman Hood and members of the commission. I hear that feedback. I will try to turn off my. Is that better for everybody? Okay. I am here today to express support for the 901 Monroe Street project. I live at 904 Irving Street, so I am just a few blocks south of where the project would be. I run every day by the project, or where the project will eventually be. As many people have spoken, I would like to add housing density to the area. The loss of two Keystone restaurants, Brookland's Finest and Brooklyn Pint, may not have occurred if this project was already developed, as it could have been previously. There was a Washington Post article that directly profiled Brooklyn's Finest when it closed And one of the key elements that was in that article that was called out was the fact of low density in the proximity to the restaurant. This would have added a lot of more units and housing and people that could have gone there. I also would like, now that I've had a week, I kind of like that I got delayed, but I wanted to address a few of the previous comments, if I'm allowed to do that, from last week. One of them was from you, Commissioner Stidman. Your comment at the end of the cross-examination of the project developer was that the project is too large. I believe that that is contrary to what the desire of ANC 5B is. In addition to the multi-hour meeting that we had last 2 weeks ago for this here, I've also attended the 6-hour meeting for the ANC 5B zoning, and then the final ANC 5B meeting where this was voted on. And if you look at the resolution that was passed, one of the resolution purposes was that, or the stipulations was that the massing was retained. So we do not believe that the project is too large. There was a lot of compromise that happened. The opposition, obviously believes that it is too large, but the community as a whole voted, or the zoning committee voted 7-0 in order to move forward to maintain the massing of the building. Also, I would like to address Barbara Coho, the person representing the 200 footers. I've been trying to wrap my head around where you live, because you've stated multiple times that you live in approximately a 50-person unit. I cannot think of anything in my neighborhood that is approximately a 50-person unit, especially not within 200 feet of the site. And so I'm wondering what your position and purpose is for representing this neighborhood, when everybody who has spoken so far understand that only pro has gone so far, but the community needs new housing at both at market and affordable rates. It is right next to the metro station. Wider and better lit sidewalks will benefit all, both for walking and running. And this project, I mean, it's been waiting for 15 years. And I know that you shouldn't push something just because of a delay to benefit a single developer. But this isn't just benefiting a single developer, it's benefiting everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Casper. Ms. Ackerman, is there one other person you called? I don't see him.
Some more people logged on after we began that testimony, so I can call them again now if you would like.
Okay, well, let's deal with this panel. We'll try again. We'll try one more time to get others who may have missed us. We do try to start on time. And let me just say this to begin with. Mr. Casper mentioned Ms. Kalo's name. Ms. Kalo, you don't have to, you can talk offline. This is zoning hearing, Ms. Kalo. You've been doing this a long time. He asked a question. I will give you time to respond to maybe answer his questions of some of the questions that you've heard, but make sure, I was going to ask you not to respond, but since you have personal privilege to respond. So I would ask you to just keep it condensed, because I know, I've been working with you a long time. I know you're going to respond. But let me just say this, Mr. Casper. I do agree with your especially about Brooklyn's Finest. Brooklyn's Finest didn't just hit Brooklyn. It hit all of Ward 5 and actually the city. It was a well-known establishment. It was a place that we all can go and dine and do whatever we have to do. So I appreciate you at least pointing out. I actually talked about that just 2 days ago, about Brooklyn Finest closing down, which was a very big setback, not just for Brooklyn, but for Ward 5 and the city as a whole. So I appreciate that. And I'm hoping that we can get over those hiccups that cause those fine establishments to have to close. So I'll just leave it at that for now. Let me see if my colleagues have any questions or comments. No response. I wanted to. I
understand that. I actually forgot just one thing, and that was this is yeah. I'm very sorry. This is very quick. This is my first time coming to one of these. First time being affected. so personally by this, and I did not realize that I needed to submit my comments within 24 hours in advance. So I didn't actually get my comments into the record. And so, Commissioner Hood, with your permission, I would like to submit my comment for the record.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Casper. Make sure that we allow Mr. Casper to submit his comments, and anyone else who has not done it, please do it by a certain, reasonable time. But we'll discuss that at the beginning. But yes, we will accept that. All right. Let me see if my colleagues have any questions. Commissioner Wright, any questions of this panel?
No, not at this time. Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Eamon Moore, any questions of this panel?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. No questions. Just want to remark that I appreciate you all participating in the public process to help shape our decision.
Okay. Commissioner Stidham, any questions of this panel?
No questions of this panel, but I really appreciate everyone's participation, and two, Mr. Casper, I very much appreciate you pointing out the ANC resolution and the commitment of the broader neighborhood. Thank you for that.
Thank you. Vice Chair Miller, any questions of this panel?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. No, I have no questions, but I also want to thank each of you for your participation and testimony this evening. And as you can see, we are listening.
Okay, Mr. Tummons, do you have any cross of this panel? We might as well bring all the parties up too, Mr. Young.
No,
Good afternoon. No questions. Okay, Commissioner Rahameen, any questions of this panel? Cross?
Chair Hood, I'm here. Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, we can hear you. Any
Okay,
questions
yeah.
of this panel?
Okay, I do have a couple of questions, comments. First of all, I just want to thank this last panel that came through, the constituents of Ward 5. I know many of them, and I know that they participated in this long process. I'm going to start with directing my first question to Mark. Mark, my first question to you would be, when was the last time that you shopped at the Monroe Street Farmers Market? Is Mark there? Did we lose Mark? Sorry.
Are you talking about Mr. Weldon?
Are you speaking?
Yeah,
of me?
Mark Weldon. Yeah.
Oh, Martin Weldon.
Martin. I'm sorry. Sorry, Martin. Yeah.
Sure. It was a couple weeks back, but my wife was there this past Saturday. I wasn't able to make it. I had an appointment. They went this past Saturday morning, and my family.
The reason why I asked you that question, Martin, is because I wanted to follow up with that. If you could you give your opinion on the vibe and the importance of the market to this community?
Oh, it's a gathering space, meeting place. There are many of my my wife and I, as you know, Rod, we come up almost all the time and have been for the last couple of years. And I would actually meet several of my past clients and community members there, and they would ask me questions, and we would engage, not just by purchasing produce, but there are also products available for purchase as well, from books and clothing and different small things that people are able to purchase and really utilize. And I see that often, almost every other Saturday when I'm up there.
Right. So it sounds like that you agree the market is an important part of our community and needs to be supported.
Oh, 100%.
Great. Thank you for that. I'm gonna now direct my questions to Ben. So Ben, you said that you walk past I actually seen you walk home from Metro a couple of times. I walk through there all the time with my dogs. I know where you live. You're a few blocks away. You said all that in your testimony. You said you run by there almost every day. So Ben, my question to you, some of the things that we heard throughout the process was that the alley is used for socializing and kids playing in the alley, shooting hoops and riding bikes and all of those things. Have you witnessed any of that?
I personally have not. I will say, in fairness, over the last 4th of July, I was heading downtown and walking past the metro and noticed the some of the people along 10th Street come out on their porch as people would for the 4th of July, and I do empathize with the idea that at certain times of the year there will be shadows cast over that alley. However, I have not witnessed this alley used for anything like the alley itself. I've seen people on porches. I've never seen anybody actually in the alley used for anything else other than coming into their personal parking spaces.
Thank you, Ben. Ben, how would you describe that? I actually ran into you a little ways away. You saw me out there doing a walk audit, me and my dogs. How would you describe that intersection at 9th and Monroe?
So currently at 9th and Monroe, I would say that it's not too busy for most of the hours of the day. I definitely think that it could handle more traffic than it currently does. One of the things that we'd be looking forward to with this project is potential further development along 9th Street. It's called 901 Monroe, but a lot of it is along 9th Street. So adding stop signs and other things along that way. But from a traffic standpoint, it's not too busy. The sidewalks are very narrow, though, and the utility poles, which, if the project moves forward, will be moved underground and the sidewalks widen. When I'm going for my runs, from a pedestrian standpoint, it's not very good. And very frequently, I will have to go into the bike lane to get around people, because if somebody's walking down the Monroe side, there's a utility pole pretty much right there, and there's only space for one person to fit through. So it's kind of a little bit of a hazard from a pedestrian standpoint.
Great. So that particular intersection, that's the side of the metro that that basically the buses go in and out. Correct?
So that would be the north side of the intersection, correct?
The north side of the intersection. So there's more opportunity to create blind spots there, with the heavy traffic. So I guess that as we're talking about where we do that ingress and egress, one of the reasons why we supported Lawrence Street was because of that. The community decided that 9th Street intersection was just more busy than the 10th Street intersection.
Oh, I would agree with that entirely. I think that if you were to add traffic coming out right there, like without having the 9th Street length to be able to evaluate the situation, it would add a lot of chaos, especially for pedestrians trying to get through there.
Yeah, and like you said, just to expand on what you said, the bicyclists, the runners, the university students, the high school students, and the elementary school students, all walking through there all around the same time at the busiest points. It was a deep concern of the community that we had to deeply reflect on. Thank you.
Mr. Ron, here's what I really need to do, because the lawyers are always on me about letting a whole lot of influx. Now's the time to do cross-examination. What you're doing is you're asking a question, and Mr. Casper is giving you the answer, and you are then adding on to his answers. All this is a session for you to add. Hear me out. Ask the question. He's going to give you a response, and then ask your other question.
Thank you, Chair. Got it.
Sure.
Got it.
Sure.
And that's it, Chair.
All right. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
All right. Let's go to Commissioner Henchman. Is Commissioner Henchman here? Mr. Young?
I do not see him on.
Okay. Let's go to President Amoray first. Is Commissioner Amaray, President Amaray here? Don Amaray? You have any cross of this panel?
Yes, I just had a quick question. Good afternoon, everybody. I had a quick question for Mr. Casper. So, Mr. Casper, do you have like a transportation background, or are you a DDOT employee?
No, ma'am, just somebody who frequently uses the sidewalks, bicycle path, and cars
Okay, all right.
in its
Thank you,
immediate
sir.
vicinity.
Okay, thank you. That's all.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Kayla, I think you probably gonna have some questions. Would I be right if I said that?
I don't have any questions, but I will
Okay.
respond to the comment about me. If you would indulge me and wait maybe 10 minutes or so, I explain who I am in my testimony as a lead witness. I live in Ward 2, and I was asked to help the 200 footers, but I will explain that. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, I thought you said you needed 10 minutes to explain who you were. Okay, I misheard you. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Ms. Kayla. All right, I think this panel, we appreciate you all coming down and give us your input. And we appreciate you taking time to do that. Ms. Ackerman, do we have any others who joined us afterwards?
Yes,
Can we bring four of them up? Yeah, can we bring four of them up, please?
Yes, Gordon Chafin, Jack Hermes, Stephen Farrell, and Michael Lambright. Those are the first four.
Okay, let's go with, I see we have Commissioner Hermes. Let's go with Commissioner Hermes first, and then I will follow suit. Go right ahead. Commissioner Hermes?
Yes, great. Thank you so much for letting me testify here. I just want to clarify real quick. There's no, I'm the ANC commissioner for 5A04, though there is no ANC 5A resolution, right? So I'm not speaking on behalf of ANC 5A as a whole, but I certainly have had many conversations with all the commissioners on 5A, and more importantly with our constituents, some of whom, I representing the Catholic University of America's campus and the constituents there literally live within a couple hundred, maybe 1,000 feet of this proposed development. And the big theme that we've had right now is that Catholic University needs housing, right? The constituents need housing, and we're having a serious housing shortage, which is limiting the university's enrollment, limiting the number of people that can move into my SMD, which obviously limits, taxes, et cetera, stuff like that. And so we need these projects for students to live on campus to increase enrollment, to increase, people moving to the city. But even further, and I think this is really, really important, is they have so many students that want to move back to Brookland after graduating and when they have the job, and they just don't have any space to do that right now with the development. I'll close with this. Again, want to keep it short and sweet as I can, but with the Brooklyn Pint and Brooklyn's Finest closing, so many students, constituents of mine have reached out, worried about whether or not they're going to be able to pay their tuition because they rely on this part-time work. And I think that this development project, the overwhelming consensus is that it's going to attract new retail, it's going to attract new opportunities for my constituents to be able to have jobs, to be able to pay their tuition, to stay on their campus, and to stay in DC, pay taxes, and do all the great work that they do for our community. So I'll leave it with that. Again, happy to answer any questions. But again, I'm an ANC that's literally within 1,000 feet, and I'm glad to see that pretty much every ANC is in support of this. So I would encourage the board to vote in favor. Thank you.
Thank you. And if you're able to stick around, we have some questions. Mr. Chaffin, if you go next, please.
Thanks for having me. My name is Gordon Chaffin. I'm Executive Director of Friends of the Metropolitan Branch Trail. We are a nonprofit that supports the trail that is just across the bridge on 8th Street. And obviously the Arts Walk is part of the trail. Literally, we are a C3 organization. We are large advocates of this project. We support trail in transit-oriented development. My professional background is in transportation and planning and research, and this project is a slam dunk in terms of the fundamentals of not only the housing, as the gentleman before me mentioned, but housing that limits to the bare minimum the number of single occupancy vehicle trips that are created by a building like this. in the last ZC meeting that I listened to about this project, there was a lot of questions about, well, you're going to have a live work unit or several of those. How are people going to get there? Well, they're going to walk, or they're going to use transit, or they're going to ride a bicycle using the protected bike lanes that will be improved by this project. So we're very strong supporters of this, and obviously happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Mr. Lambright?
Hi there. Thank you, Chairman Hood and members of the commission. First off, let me apologize. I made the rookie mistake of clicking on the last meeting, and so I joined a little bit late while I was trying to figure that out. My name is Michael Lambright. I'm a resident of the Brooklyn neighborhood in SMD 5B04, just a few blocks south of the proposed project. I walk by this property every time I go to the Metro bus. I've attended numerous neighborhood meetings about the project, and I'm happy to support it today. DC faces a housing affordability crisis that's driven by a rental supply that does not meet growing demand and has not met it for some time. The district urgently needs to add both affordable and market rate housing, but given both our geographic constraints and our traffic issues, it's pretty important for us to allow the land we do have to be put to its most impactful use. This location's proximity to the metro station, to the bus hub, the Capital Bike Share Station, and the Metropolitan Branch Trail, which, as was just discussed, is the best north-south bike infrastructure in the city, makes us an extremely convenient location for people to live. Add in the new grocery store just a short walk across the bridge, and this becomes one of the easiest locations in Northeast for people to live car-free lives, which would minimize the impact on traffic in the surrounding area. The nearby 12th Street commercial corridor is struggling, and there are a number of causes, but adding more residents to our neighborhood is one way to help. Another way is to increase activation and improve pedestrian comfort along Monroe between the Metro Station and 12th Street. With its expanded sidewalk, additional trees, and potential storefronts, this project represents a significant step in all of those efforts. I've been, like I said, to a lot of meetings about this project. The developer has put significant effort and energy into community engagement, and from what I've seen, has frequently integrated community feedback into their plan. While not everyone got everything they wanted out of this process, reasonable, good faith changes have been made throughout. I struggle to imagine a property in the district that would be a better fit to support housing than this one. I personally find the building design to be quite attractive, but even if I didn't, it would be hard to argue that this isn't an improvement over the current fenced-in vacant lot. With our city's urgent needs, it's long past time to let people live here. And one further note, our elected city council amended the comprehensive plan to address legal deficiencies that were identified in the last time this went through, and to allow a project like this to be built. Our elected advisory neighborhood commission then, after extensive public feedback, voted to endorse this project, as has the neighboring ANC after a similar process. While some of you might personally believe the project to be too large for our neighborhood, in our city, which too often faces a deficit of democracy, I'd ask you to give our elected officials great weight in this matter. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Mr. Farrow, I believe, hopefully I pronounced your name correctly. If not, correct me.
You did. Thank you, Chairman Hood. And thank you, Commission members, for your time this afternoon. So my name is Steve Farrow. I'm a Brookland resident. I was previously the vice president and president of the BNCA. I also served as a delegate filling in for our filling in an ANC 5B05 when our ANC commissioner resigned. My comments here today are as a private citizen in support. I would echo a lot of the comments that others have made about the importance of activating the site, of providing housing, of providing more commercial space, as well as the steps the developer has gone to both limit the traffic impacts as well as to accommodate the requests of the community. But I actually want to build on Mr. Casper, Mr. Lambright's comments, and really stress that the proposal aligns with the development vision that our elected representatives have endorsed for this site in fact, for over a decade. If you go back to the small area plan, which the council approved in 2009, that envisions Monroe Street as a walkable, mixed-use commercial and residential link between 12th Street and Michigan Avenue. I think that's precisely the type of development that Hanover and Mankato are proposing here today. And while it's true that the small area plan does call for limiting development east of the train tracks to a maximum of 50 feet, as Mr. Lambright alluded to, in 2021, the council approved revisions to the comp plan and the future land use map to make that the 901 Monroe Street site that included making the 901 Monroe Street site medium density residential. And I think it's important to look at the map and focus on the fact that that change is very specific and it's very targeted to that site. And it's targeted to that site because it's a metro adjacent property. It's consistent with the district's policies to prioritize greater density within walking distance of metro. It's also consistent with the scope and scale of development that the neighborhood has seen on the other side of the bridge through the Monroe Street Market development. As Commissioner Amin detailed, and as Mr. Lambright also referred to, this development has been the subject of extensive discussion through the ANC, through community meetings, through the Development, Zoning, and Land Use Committee, as well as culminating in a resolution that the ANC passed with unanimous support. In support of this, of the development being proposed here. I mean, I think when we look at it in totality, then for over 15 years, our elected representatives, and I would stress the same thing that Mr. Lambright just did. Like we've gone through democratic processes where our elected representatives have now consistently passed laws and resolutions supporting the type, scope, and scale of development that Hanover and Mankaty are proposing for 901 Monroe Street. The addition of mixed-use residential and commercial development is consistent with the vision of the small area plan. The size of the building is consistent with the future land use map and the comprehensive plan. And as I just mentioned, the specific proposal on the table here has the unanimous support of our ANC. And I'd like to conclude by asking for your support for this development as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all. I really appreciate the comments of this whole panel. And I appreciate you all for staying on point and giving us your positions, especially pertaining to the comp plan, the FLUM, and the law. I appreciate all the testimony I've heard. Let me see if my colleagues have any questions, comments. Commissioner Ema Moore.
No questions. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, for this group, I appreciate your participation in the public process.
Commissioner Wright.
No questions. Thank you.
Let's see. Okay. I'm looking around for everybody. Commissioner Stidham, keep moving around.
No questions or comments, and thank you all for your participation. It is greatly appreciated.
And Vice Chair Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank each of you for your testimony. Yeah, I would echo your comments, Mr. Chairman. I particularly appreciate Mr. Lambright's and Farrell's comments about the changes in the comp plan by the mayor and council in 2021 to increase the residential density to medium density to facilitate this type of development.
Okay, thank you. Let's see if we have any cross-examination. Does the applicant have Mr. Tummins?
No questions.
Okay, Chair, Commissioner Rahameen, any cross?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Chair Hood. I'm here and I would like, oh, did I lose you? Sorry, I think I almost logged myself out here. Yeah. Okay. So I'm here. I'm going to ask. I'm going to start with Mr. Farrell. Steve. Steve, are you a member of the BNCA?
Yes.
How many? I know you said you attend a lot of meetings. How many BNCA meetings did you attend on this particular project?
So I will admit that I've been in and out of the meetings on this particular project. I know that there was a meeting back in, I believe it was April or May, I forget the date, but it was to collect some BNCA member feedback on sort of impressions, what they thought about the development.
Okay. Thank you, Steve. And this is for Mr. Lambright, for Michael. Michael, are you a member of the BNCA?
Yes.
How many BNCA meetings did you attend on this project?
The NCA specifically, I think there was one initial presentation, and then I think there was one meeting at which the proponents of the project and the opponents of the project were sort of given equal time, and everyone else just got to ask questions. I went to both of those. There was a third meeting which sounded like it was just the opponents given time, and I didn't go to that one.
Okay, and how many meetings would you say that you attended overall on this project?
Somewhere between 5 and 10, probably closer to 10.
Okay, and in those meetings, did everyone in those meetings that wanted an opportunity to address the commission or the community have an opportunity to do that?
Certainly.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you. That's it. That's it, Chair. Chair Hood and Commission.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner. Let's go to Commissioner Henchman. You have any cross to this panel?
He is not on. He is not on.
Oh, he's not on? I thought I saw him earlier. Okay. All right. Ms. Morey, President Brooklyn, you have any cross to this panel?
No cross.
No cross.
Okay. And Ms. Kalo, 200 footers, you have any cross to this panel?
I do not. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay. Again, thank you, panel. We appreciate your input. All right, let's go. Let's call the next ones we have. Ms. Ackerman, next four.
These are the last four.
These are the last four.
Okay.
Dean Gulick, Michelle May, Tony Tomaldon, and Didi Menkidi. Sorry if I pronounced that wrong.
Okay, let's bring everyone up. Okay, I'm gonna go who I see first. Let's go with Mr. Arthur Tomaldon. And I'm sure you're correct. If I mess your name up, please just correct me when you come up.
He may be the only one that I
Oh.
People never get my name, but it's on my name. It's all right. It's Tamel.
At least you won't tweet like they normally tweet out. Chairman Hood's messing up everybody's name, so I'm waiting for another one of those tweets.
I'm on Twitter all the time, but I won't do that. I do want to thank you, Chairman Hood, and all the members of the committee for giving me the opportunity to speak here. I have to tell you, unfortunately, I'm having flashbacks of the pretty nasty battle we went through to open Brookland's finest. So bear with me a little bit. First, the boring and annoying details that we always have to go through. I was born in Brookland. My great-grandfather moved here in 1912. My dad grew up here. I bought my first house on Kearney Street in 2002, around the corner from this development, and I was a regular customer at Colonel Brooks. And in 2014, when we opened Brookland's Finest, we actually had a Colonel Burger on the menu as a reminder of that fine institution. A little further away now. I'm at 17th and Irving, but I'm still a Brookland resident. And unfortunately, a few months ago, after a 10-year run, we closed the restaurant. The restaurant was at 12th and Jackson. There were several factors in that closing, but population density would have helped a lot. I support this development because I tend to lead towards the notion of the more the merrier. I would love to have more folks move into this incredible neighborhood that I love. I am going to add that I really am pleased to see that the developers and the BNCA and everybody has worked out a way to include retail in the development. Like the fella said, you know, the Catholic kids and everybody here, we need jobs in this neighborhood. I had several Catholic kids and several locals working at the restaurant. So again, if we can get more businesses in the neighborhood, the more the merrier. So I'll keep it there. I give my full support to this project. I will add that if they get the retail going, I'm hoping that they will keep the rental rates affordable, because that's one of the other factors that tends to lead towards businesses closing. But again, our big thing was density of population. At the end of the at the end of the lockdown, we were ringing half what we did before the lockdown. And if there were more people in the neighborhood, we would have had more customers. So again, thank you for the time. You did way better on my last name than a lot of people do. So I will get off now.
Okay, thank you. I just been, Mr. Hold tight, I want to make sure. Mr. Thomas, didn't I call on you to see if you had any cross each time?
Yeah, you did.
Okay, okay. I'm getting a whole lot of good help. Okay, thank you. All right. So, all right, but I still keep helping me because I need help. Thank you. So let's see if we have any cross colleagues. Commissioner Wright, any cross? Mr. Tom Meldon.
No cross. Thank you.
How do you pronounce your name?
It's Tameldon.
Tameldon. Okay, I was almost in it.
I told you you were close.
I was close. Okay. Commissioner Moore.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. No questions, Mr. Tameldon. Thank you for your perspective.
Okay, and Commissioner Stidham.
No questions. Thank you for your time tonight.
Vice Chair Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. No question. Thank you for your testimony.
So I noticed that I've been told that when I'm off mute, we hear a lot of echoing. But Mr. Young and Vice Chair Miller, if I go off mute and not able to get back on, I'm getting stuck. So you can keep going until I'm able to get back on, Vice Chair. I just want you to know if I don't come back and you can't hear me, my mute button is sticking. I don't know if it's me or Mr. Young's helping me. All right, let's see if we have any cross. Mr. Tummins?
No cross.
Okay, Chair Rahameen?
Yeah, I'm still here, Chair Hood. I, again, like everyone else, I just want to thank Tony Tameldon for, his testimony today, but also just want to thank him for the commitment to our community as well. And I just want to really, this one thing that he said that made me think about something about hiring people in our community. And I want to ask him somewhat of a math question. Tony, can you recall approximately how many local residents you've hired over the last 10 years since Brooklyn Finest was in the community?
Again, there's the pre-lockdown and the post-lockdown dynamic. Pre-lockdown, we had, I think, probably 50 employees. And I would say of that, I'm guessing both pre and post lockdown, we had almost 50% local. But counting among those locals, Catholic U kids. So I don't know where you draw the line there, but I would say that we were roughly 50-50.
Right. Thank you. And how did those, to your knowledge, how did the majority of those employees get to and from work at Brooklyn Finest?
I would say, excuse me, it was a combination of walking and so, buses in the subway. There were, and then when the bike share thing came along, there was a few kids that did that, but I think the bulk of them were walking and mass transit. And then post lockdown, again, we're late. We would close late, and so some of those kids would Uber home, but it was because it was 1-2 o'clock in the morning, and I was a little protective of them walking home.
Thank you, Tony. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Commission.
Okay, thank you. Again, I'm going to call his name, even though I don't think the commission is on. Commissioner from 5F, Mr. Hinchman. Okay, let's go right to Mr. Hinchman. Okay. Ms. Amore from Brooklyn. Any cross?
No cross. Thank you.
Okay, and Ms. Kalo, 200 footers.
No cross. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Melvin, for providing your testimony. All right. Ms. Ackman, I think that's it for support, right? Okay, so now we can go to the party and opposition. I think that's the correct order. Do we know how much time? I'm sure Ms. Kayla already knows, but do we know how much time that they have?
I believe we discussed this last week, 45 minutes and then 15 for the second. No?
No, we
I didn't
changed
say
that,
anything.
Ella. It's 50 minutes for the 200 footers and 10 minutes for the BNCA.
Okay. I didn't realize it had been changed.
Mr. Tummins, do you recall, did you all take 60 minutes?
It took 61 minutes, I timed it.
61, come on. Did you all take 61 minutes, Mr. Tummins?
I would imagine Ms. Kalo knew exactly how long we took.
Thank
Okay,
you. I
so-
timed.
So, okay, so Ms. Kayla, I want to make sure that you all have 61 minutes, even though once before that 1 minute may make a difference. So I want to make sure you all have the minute as well. All right, Ms. Kayla, are you going to start?
That would be fine. Or you
Okay,
can
you
have
make it.
BNCA and then the minutes they don't use, we can use, because I have a panel of 5. So which would you
Okay,
prefer?
did you all work that out? Have you all worked that out yet? How you all going to do it?
Dawn, would you like to go first?
I'm easy to go first if that would make sense for you, Barbara.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you, Mr. Moray, and thank you, Ms. Kayla, for working that out. Ms. Ackman, could you please keep up with the time, please? 61 minutes total. Thank you. All right, Mr. Moray, you may begin.
Okay, great. Today I'm here testifying in my capacity as the president of the Brookland Neighborhood Civic Association, the BNCA. Brookland Civic, founded in 1880, provides a forum for considering and advancing the interests of Brookland residents on issues affecting the community. As BNCA president, it's my responsibility to carry out the BNCA mission and to ensure that the members' voices are heard and that this critical project, one with the potential to transform our neighborhood, reflects our shared vision for Brookland. For the record, BNCA is not opposed to development. On the contrary, we request further assurances and improvements for this project in alignment with the participant recommendations. The space has been vacant for far too long, and we look forward to welcoming more people to our beautiful neighborhood. This testimony reflects the feedback we received from our BNCA member meeting on April 15th, 2025. It was a community listening session, and the feedback was reported in Exhibit 44. Approximately 40 Brooklanders, including ANC 5B03, 5B04, and 5B05 commissioners, attended the standing room only meeting at the historic Brooks Mansion. The 901 Monroe development team kindly attended so that they could hear the community feedback firsthand. Concerns raised, including those related to scale, safety, security, traffic, and community benefits, some of which are still all outstanding. I provided the items from Exhibit 44 and our understanding of the current disposition of each one. The first item that members had recognized were scale and character. Community members have expressed strong concern regarding the scale and height of the proposed building currently planned at 6 stories. The primary issue is that the height is inconsistent with the surrounding neighborhood, particularly those affected on the 10th Street corridor due to loss of sunlight and compatibility with the surrounding neighborhood. Neighbors request a reduction in scale with increased setbacks and a design that scales downward closer to adjacent streets to preserve neighborhood character. Disposition of this item. Despite the ANC 5B's Development, Zoning, and Land Use Committee's draft position paper, which cited scale, massing, and character as issues, the ANC's resolution, Exhibit 77, states the developer shall retain alley massing. The developer shall create front doors for all units facing Lawrence Street. We support the creation of front doors for all units facing Lawrence Street as shown in Exhibit 106. We request that the concerns about scale and massing be reviewed by the Zoning Commission. The second item was health and safety. The community highlighted critical concerns regarding vehicular access and traffic management. Currently, the proposed sole vehicular entry and exit point via the Lawrence Street alley possesses significant safety risks, particularly given the existing traffic congestion associated with nearby schools. Neighbors strongly advocate relocating the vehicle access to either 9th Street as it was designed and DDOT approved in the previous Monroe Street development, or on Monroe Street to alleviate safety concerns and traffic bottlenecks. Additionally, concerns about adequate safety and security, including potential issues related to evacuation and vandalism risks, were underscored. In terms of its disposition, the ANC Resolution Exhibit 77 states during the schematic design and design development phases, the developer should seek community input regarding the safety, security, and aesthetics aspects of the alley. This should include, but not limited to, pole locations, lighting, security barriers at both 6 townhomes and proposed development, fencing, walls, garage doors, pedestrian doors, cameras, pavement styles, sidewalk design for pedestrian access to the garage, and relocation of drop-off from Monroe to 9th Street. BNCA is concerned that the term seek community input is not strong enough to ensure that these matters are addressed. Further, the applicant's supplemental statement in Exhibit 56 makes no mention of the applicant's plans to refine its designs as a result of community input. Though I will note that there was some testimony earlier in last time's in the meeting 2 weeks ago about this. BNCA requests that this process be defined, or a process be defined, to seek out and report on community input requests, along with the process for how requests are accepted or rejected. The third item was Monroe Street Life. The development as currently proposed lacks meaningful retail or mixed-use components. Community members emphasize the importance of foot traffic to activate Monroe Street, enhance pedestrian safety, and support local economic vitality. While the 200-footers in our meeting did not define a solution for street life, a petition was signed by approximately 120 Brooklyn residents and nearby neighbors underscores community-wide support for integrating retail-ready spaces for the project to allow flexibility for the space to allow retail in the future. Stakeholders urge developers to reserve at least a modest portion, approximately 2,000 square feet of ground floor space capable of retail use to meet community needs, enhance street level vibrancy. The disposition is of this item that BNCA is excited by the inclusion of retail ready space. And in letter B of the ANC resolution, Exhibit 77 describes this. BNCA is pleased that the sustained advocacy by individual residents in the community helped shape this aspect of the project. It shows that when the community speaks up, change is possible. Our association will provide its support to advertise and market the space. The fourth item is community amenities. The proposed development's limited green space and lack of sufficient family-oriented and ownership opportunities were raised as points of concern. Community members request enhanced provisions for accessible green space, including more trees at ground level rather than primarily on upper floors. Additionally, there is strong community interest in increasing the availability of larger family-sized residential units, 3 to 4 bedrooms, as well as providing opportunities for partial tenant ownership, such as condominiums, to support long-term community stability. The community was pleased that power lines on Monroe Street would be put underground. Additionally, the community request prioritizes actual project-related amenities to benefit the immediate neighbors instead of dollar contributions to unrelated nonprofit organizations. The disposition of this item is that the inclusion of 10% more family-sized units, 3 or 4 bedrooms, was listed by the ANC as a suggestion in Exhibit 77. BNCA would like this to be a condition. The applicant's public amenities are limited primarily to underground electrical wires on Monroe Street. Amenities are $95,500 in cash contributions provided to nonprofit organizations, plus $30,000 for a study to examine activation of the land surrounding Brooks Mansion. Comparing 901 Monroe to the development at 8th and Jackson Streets, the Hanover, which is case 1821, Exhibit 135, while it's larger than 901 Monroe, provided many transit-oriented benefits to its residents, such as a $100 Smart Trip card and bike share subscriptions. Additionally, the Hanover has delivered tangible public amenities, including a public plaza of 5,150 square feet and associated landscaping, streetscaping, and lighting improvements along 8th Street, 20 public bike racks, drinking fountain, additional docks for Capital Bike Share bikes at 10th and Monroe. These tangible amenities at the Hanover were in addition to $199,000 in donations to charter schools, community and educational programs. BNCA requests that additional tangible public amenities be included. Thank you for your consideration and engagement addressing these critical concerns, and we look forward to the ongoing collaboration with the 901 Monroe team. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, President Morey. Let's see if we have any questions or comments from my colleagues. Commissioner Wright, any questions, comments?
No, although I found your comparison of the amenity package in this project to the amenity package in a other recent project in the neighborhood to be very helpful. And I would just say, as we go down this path, if Office of Planning is on this call, I would appreciate them to actually give us a sort of side-by-side comparison of the amenity package in this project with the amenity package in some other recently approved PUDs in the area. And I found that helpful, and I'd like to actually get a little more information on that from Office of Planning.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Ackerman, make sure that we take a note of that. That's one of the things that we, Commissioner Wright, and we've asked for. Okay, anything else, Commissioner Wright? Okay, Commissioner Moore?
No.
Questions?
No questions. Thank you for preparing your testimony for this afternoon. And like Commissioner Wright, I found it very helpful.
Commissioner Stidham, any questions?
No questions. Thank you for your time today.
Okay, and Vice Chair Miller, any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Ms. Amore, for your community engagement and for your participation and testimony this evening.
Okay, President Morey, I do have a question. As I'm looking through the case file in this record, it seems like people land in different places, and that's natural. It seems like the BNCA, let me ask this, did you all participate in the comp plan rewrite?
It is possible that BNCA did. That probably predated my term as president.
Okay, I know, okay. I wrote something down here and I can't even read my own writing. Hold on, let me see something. So it sounds like there has been a lot of community input. Okay, I know what it is. You all are asking to be heard, input. Is it that, and this question might not come off right, but it's not intended how it's going to come off. Is it that everything just didn't go the way that you all like to see it? Is why you feel like you're not being heard or the input, or is it that you really feel like you're not getting input? Because it sounds to me like there's been plenty of vetting, plenty of community input. You all have been right there at the table, but some of the things might not have got addressed exactly like you wanted. Could that be why I think you feel like, unless you didn't, maybe I misheard you. I thought you were saying it needs to be better input from the community.
That we had taken the time to get. I'm sorry, the echo is, I'm going to try to speak slowly so the echo doesn't come in. We had taken the time to actually, hold a community listening session, prepare these list of recommendations, which we think many of them fall in line with other developments that happen in the city, and that we wanted to see a better project.
All right, yeah, I need to find out why. Maybe I got too many computers over here, why I'm getting echo. And I will say that I really appreciate the submission that you all have submitted. And I would agree with Commissioner Wright about looking at other packages that were done in that area, because we've done a couple of PUDs. So thank you for all the work that you all have put in. And it's never, even though this process, whichever way this process goes, is never ending time. You can always continue to work with the developer, I believe, always. Give me one moment, please. Mr. Tummins, do you have any cross?
No cross.
No cross.
Okay. Chair Rahameen, you have any cross?
No cross, Chair. No cross, Chair.
Okay. Again, so far, Mr. Henchman has not joined us, Commissioner Henchman. Ms. Kalo, do you have any cross?
I do not. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you very much, Ms. Moray, and continue. We appreciate all the work that BNC has done, continues to do for the best interest of Brooklyn and the city. Ms. Ackerman, do we know how much time that Ms. Kalo has? I know she knows, but how much time does Ms. Kalo have?
I have on here that there's 45 minutes and 30 seconds left.
Did you add that 1 minute?
Yes, I did.
Okay. All right, Ms. Kalo, it's all yours.
Thank you. My statement is long and the other 4 witnesses are shorter. I, Barbara Kalo, live in the Foggy Bottom area of Ward 2, as somebody asked, but I'm testifying today at the request of the 200-footers surrounding 901 Monroe Street on all 4 sides. 7 co-signers, 15 different addresses have given me authority to speak today. In December 2010, almost 15 years ago, the commissioner for this single-member district asked for my help due to my extensive experience in DC on plan unit developments and requested upzonings. I'll be talking about that at the end of my testimony as well. In January 2012, 2012, the 200-footers received party status in the prior case 10-28. And that also involved a proposed PUD and upzoning from the current R2 and C1 to then C2B. After 3 DC Court of Appeals cases in May 2016, the appeals court vacated this zoning commission order. The success was largely due to the fact that the proposal was inconsistent with DC law, the comprehensive plan and the future land use map. We told them that as we were working on this project. They didn't seem to care. The court did care. In December 2024, in other words, several months ago, the 200-footers, the new 200-footers, some of which are repeats, asked me to help with the current case 2415, which also includes a proposed PUD upzoning. The upzoning is from R2, which is most of the site, and MU3A, which are moderate density, semi-detached residential, and low density mixed use, to a big jump to MU5B, which is medium density. The project today is taller and larger than the project in 10-28. In the recent comp plan, the developer successfully obtained a FLUM change to commercial moderate residential medium use. One of you asked, did anybody testify on the comp plan? Yes, I did. I testified. And I testified about this site and all of the other FLUM changes that were spot zoning. In other words, in a sea of area, which is low density residential, to have one site to be upzoned. That spot zoning is undesirable by all planning people, and I testified in opposition to it. On February 8th, before the February 13th set down of this case, I submitted a letter in the hearing record for your consideration, and I'll be discussing today about the OP report. And I'll be discussing today 5 topics. The first 2 in detail, and the last 3 in summary, since the other witnesses will discuss them in detail. The first is a short history of all the development proposals on 901 Monroe Street. The second is an alternative to the map amendment to MU5B. The third is various adverse effects and proposed usage of this widened dead-end alley. The fourth is insufficient, unfair construction management agreement. The fifth is insufficient, inappropriate, undesirable amenities package. First, let me get to the history. In my February 2012 testimony in the former case, I gave detailed history of what had happened for this square. In the first proposal requested upzoning for 5 lots, residential R2 lots, and in 1989, the zoning commission said, nope. will only allow you 3 of 5. The rezoning of the other 2 lots is inappropriate, would result in commercial encroachment next to lots that are primarily residential in character and would not be beneficial to the surrounding neighborhood. As I just stated in 2016, the DC Court of Appeals vacated the last case order as inconsistent with DC law, denying the developer's desire to upzone to medium density, which they want to do now, where a maximum moderate density was allowed under that current law. Currently, and this is really important for everybody to think about, the highest zone east of the railroad tracks, west of the railroad tracks near Catholic, lots of high rises. That's not what we're talking about here. East of the railroad tracks, south of Monroe Street is primarily residential. MU4 and MU3A is the only stuff other than the low density R2 or R1B, and that is moderate density along the 12th Street commercial corridor. So the requested spot zoning of this site would be precedent setting for the entire area south of Monroe Street. And I'm going to present an alternative for your consideration, which Commissioner Miller discussed a little bit in the last hearing 1. In my February 8th letter on the OP set-down report, I quoted, OP said new development should be compatible with existing scale. This clearly is not. 75 feet is not compatible with 2 or 3 story row houses and single family homes. OP stated the guiding principles of the small area plan include protecting existing neighborhood character. This clearly does not protect existing residential character. OP stated the language of the small area plan may be allowed up to 50 feet maximum through a PUD and has various setbacks provisions, none of which are being recognized currently. So that also is not consistent. In the February 13th set down, OP added, regarding the comprehensive plan, the subject site is identified in the general policy map as falling within a neighborhood conservation area. In this discussion, Vice Chair Miller stated, neighborhood conservation area designation of the site also uses the word compatibility. The new development should be compatible with the scale of the surrounding. I want a discussion of that by the applicant and by OP at the hearing, whether additional setbacks or step downs would be appropriate given the compatibility language in the neighborhood conservation area and in the upper northeast area element. I'd like a thorough explanation of the setbacks and how it relates to the surrounding or existing context. That's what Commissioner Miller asked. So far, on day 1 and in various submissions by both OP, a preliminary report, a final report, and the applicant submissions, they did not address what the commission asked them to do. Commissioner Imamura asked, I'd like a thorough explanation of the sort of setbacks and how they relate to the surrounding or existing context. Commissioner Wright added something already mentioned by Commissioners Miller and Imamura, which is setbacks. I'd like to see if some of the tools were used in the last case of literally you have a 45-degree plane and a setback in the areas facing the backs of the smaller townhouses is something that can be accomplished. Again, nothing's been discussed. You all mentioned you wanted it in your set down, and I would love for them to please entertain that. Next subject, second subject, alternate zone. In the February set down, Commissioner Emma Murray asked Vice Chair Miller and I urged applicants to illustrate what other zones they had considered and either or why not they didn't work. What did you look at and why did it or did not work? We need a better explanation. Again, on the day 1 of the hearing, both OP and the applicant did not discuss and answer the questions of the commissioners. I then prepared a chart because I'm a statistician, that's why I look at times, comparing the current zoning, the zoning from the last case, the alternative zone, which I'm suggesting, and the current proposal. Unfortunately, it's everybody who sees my testimony online sees it, but I don't have a virtual representation. But my chart shows that the current proposal is larger and taller than the prior proposal, 75 feet versus 61 feet, and 4.2 density floor area ratio versus 3.31. This is big difference. Since the change in the form was from moderate to medium, the developer could have requested the other medium, which is MU5A map amendment instead of MU5B map amendment. MU5A would have allowed only 70 feet and still the same density. 70 versus 75 feet is a big deal. The more big deal is MU5B that they're suggesting can go up to 50 feet if this is approved as a precedent. And that would be an unwelcome precedent in an area south of Monroe Street, which is absolutely low density everywhere else. And so I think it would be good if you could consider 5A. Commissioner Miller did ask them about that, and what I understood was that if it was a matter of right 5A, they needed more inclusionary zoning, which would be a good thing, not a bad thing. Third topic, various adverse effects, especially due to the widened dead-end alley. In my letter to the Zoning Commission on the OP set down, OP said, we also find to double the effective width of the alley is a benefit. I stated the current 200-footers unanimously disagree with widening the small alley, worrying about their small children and adverse environmental effects on their air quality and traffic noise. From the transportation element of the comp plan, OP cited minimize off-street parking. Excessive off-street parking should be discouraged. The PD only has 54 spaces for 230 rental units. The result would be a huge increase in off-street parking. It's already near saturation. This would have profoundly adverse effect on the neighboring residents and many freestanding homes and row houses. In the set down, Commissioner Wright stated how the alley would have to be changed. I think it's worth weighing. You might recapture some square footage by not widening the alley, which allows you to do the 45-degree incline plane and put the access on one of the other side streets. On May 13th, the 200-footers had a virtual meeting with the DC Department of Transportation in which I participated. DDOT was unable to provide zero examples of development projects with a dead-end alley with abutting residences whose backyards abut the alley and with their cars parked in the driveway abutting the alley. So their little simple formula has no other cases in the city, anywhere in the city. There are clear safety risks to the children who play in the alley, the owner cars that need to have easy access for school, work, or emergencies, and of course the safety risks, which Ms. Amori just mentioned, the adverse environmental risk to the seniors and kids for noxious car fumes. In addition, DDOT could not estimate the additional vehicle trips besides for the trash and 55 owner cars for the USPS and package deliveries, Amex, FedEx, and UPS deliveries. I think everybody was here except for Commissioner Wright when I cross-examined them. In my 51-unit condominium with a front desk, I asked how many packages arrive every day to our condominium. She estimated 100. So for a 233-unit building, it'd be 500 per day. A dead-end alley makes no sense for that many packages. The prior proposal had a curb cut on the 9th Street instead, which the 200-footers unanimously and repeatedly requested for this proposal. What I learned from the first hearing was that the reason that they picked only five trips a day, 5 parcel delivery packages, is because there's a threshold. And because they were only a small number, they didn't need to do a transportation impact analysis, which should have been done for a project of this size. Fourth topic, construction management agreement. Guy Durant, former 200-footer, current 200-footer, will address that in detail. All I want to state is that the ANC 5B conditionally supported this project, if and only if they met with the resolution says the developer shall consider and incorporate the following conditions. The CMA should be developed collaboratively between the developer and the affected neighbors. All parties should reach consensus on the agreement using the previously agreed version from the last case as a starting point and updating it to reflect any significant changes. There are 17 topics, several of which are very important, which are missing from the developer's mini CMA. I think it's as you remember my cross-examination, I said, did we meet with you on this? No. Are you willing to? Yes. And I think that remains to be done because the mini CMA won't work. Last subject is amenities package. Two of our witnesses will be discussing that, but in detail will be Jamila Gleason. In my February letter about the OP set-down report, OP stated additional information is needed about the proffers. Under PUD evaluation standards, OP quotes offer a commendable number or quality of meaningful public benefits. I stated the already cited letters of opposition, the record recommend a number of meaningful public benefits, none of which were discussed in OP's report or considered by the developer. And I asked about that, if you remember, in cross-examination. They didn't read them. They didn't consider it yet. Yes, they're willing to meet with us on it. The applicant's supplemental submission has dollars to 5 nonprofits are related to them, no amenities for the 200-footers, 0 amenities to mitigate the adverse effects. So I decided to go back and look at my comp plan proposals because I had so much experience in PUDs. I offered a provision in the 1994 comp plan, which was the first set of amendments after the 1984 initial comp plan, and it was adopted and it's been carried forward in every single version. The current version of it, the first law in 1994 was DC Law 10-193, Section 1200.27. Current law, current comp plan states, location of PUD amenities. A substantial part of the amenities proposed in PUDs shall accrue to the community in which the PUD could have an impact. As I just stated, there are none. And this is DC law. It's not a discretionary, it's non-discretionary. They absolutely have to comply with this law, and that's what we want. Thank you very much for considering my testimony. And now the others will speak in great detail, and they all live, and they're all 200-footers. Thank you. Next up is
If we can stop the clock, let's stop. I just want to make sure we stop the clock, Mr. Young, so while we bring everybody up. And Ms. Kalo, are you going to take the lead on who's going to go next? If you can
it's stated in our statement that I can do that if you want.
Yeah, if you can kind of help orchestrate that. Yeah.
Okay. Our first witness is Lillian Noya, who is our expert witness. Lillian Noya, she's on the bottom of the screen. If you can let her in. That's her.
Perfect.
It has a guy's name on it, but okay, good.
Thank you. Good afternoon, commissioners, and I'm glad to be here today. My name is Lillian Noya, and I am a licensed architect, and I live within 200 feet of the proposed development site. I'm here to express my concerns regarding this project's design and encourage changes to the proposed plan regarding the building's massing, sunlight impact, and traffic circulation. I'd like to start by addressing the building's architectural massing, which is likely to have a profound effect on the surrounding area and its residents. The current proposal maintains a full 75-foot height along its eastern edge, creating a shear wall effect. A vertical cliff, only a few feet from residential porches. The 6th floor setback in the proposed plan will not alleviate this effect. This will not only disrupt the neighborhood's aesthetic, but it will also create an overwhelming presence looming over the nearby residents and even the pedestrians passing by. This fundamental design flaw was also recognized over a decade ago. The 2012 architectural testimony highlighted similar concerns, overwhelming scale, and a disregard for Brooklyn's village-like development pattern. That version of the building was rightly opposed by the 200-footers in 2012, and today's design actually intensifies those same flaws with more height and fewer concessions. A thoughtful response could have corrected this major flaw. However, you can find examples of a better solution in the surrounding area. For instance, the applicant would like to compare their proposal to a different building, one of which they stated in their exhibit, Monroe Street Market Block E, which has close proximity to surrounding 2-story homes. That building better handles this massing problem by transitioning down to 4 stories before reaching the adjacent single-family homes. It also is using massing adjustments to reduce visual and physical impact. That's not what's happening in this applicant's proposed building, which maintains a full height along the entirety of the street. At a bare minimum, the applicant must step down some portion of the shear wall along 10th Street. Next, I'd like to address the building's sunlight and solar impact, especially in the 2-story row houses, both on 9th Street and 10th Street. The applicant's shadow study shows how the project will significantly reduce sunlight to adjacent homes, particularly during fall and winter, when outdoor light is valuable and already limited. However, the applicant has not provided year-round shadow studies, which would likely reveal a much larger sunlight impact based on the building's mass. We should assume that the sunlight impact will be much greater than stated. Chairman Hood correctly asked questions about the shadow study last time, and I think a lot of people would have a bit of a hard time understanding how it actually works. And today, as an example, at 6 p.m., a building here would actually be casting a massive shadow on the houses on Lawrence Street themselves. So it's not just us, but there will be a lot of impact on those houses as well. This not only affects residents' quality of life, but also impacts the environment. At least 3 of the 6 homes along 10th Street have solar panels, with a fourth home scheduled for installation this year. These residents have made personal investments aligned with DC's clean energy goals, and this building will block their solar exposure for much of the year, driving up energy costs and harming the environment. For the adjacent homes, this impact has a measurable financial cost. Personal solar panels can generate a home thousands of dollars a year. If changes reducing the sunlight impact are not made, there will be a financial loss for them. A reduction in massing and weight would be much more sustainable solution for this. Finally, from an architectural and urban design standpoint, the most problematic element of this project is its exclusive reliance on dead-end alley for all vehicular access. Every car, delivery van, and trash truck will have to enter through a narrow alley behind our homes, navigate a mid-block garage entrance, and then exit the same way they arrived. There is no circulation loop, no buffer zone, and no off-site loading. Trucks will need to reverse and perform tight turns in an alley that is already used by pedestrians, many of them children. And if you're around here, you will see that a lot of us will leave through the back door, and this is how we get to our neighbor's deck. This is how we go to the stores. This is how we go to our neighboring houses. And we use that alley. We'll be walking through there. So the applicant must provide a safer and more realistic traffic plan for the alley, or preferably use the existing curb cut on 9th Street. One thing that I thought was really interesting from the last call too was Commissioner Stenham mentioned how people will probably be using the alley in order to access the building itself. And it's true, human psychology shows that we'll always find the shortest possible way to get into a building. And if you're coming north on 10th Street, or if you've parked your car in the back of the building here, people will want to access the back of the street to get inside their building. Therefore, they will likely be using the alleyway to access that. And as of now, I don't think anyone finds it a very safe place to be walking through. The alley also represents a potential aesthetic nightmare. Detailed renderings of the area are limited, and it is safe to assume that the typical features of a large building will be present. Those of us adjacent to the alley will be staring into a garage opening, mechanical vents, parked cars just feet from our porches. This is typically the portion of a building where developers are least likely to invest in human-friendly features. For us, it's the backdrop for our personal and family lives. The developer should pledge to invest in this area as if it were the intimate surroundings of its neighbors, because it is. I respectfully ask that the Commission not approve this project in its current form. Instead, I urge you to require a reduction in massing and height along the site adjacent to the 10th Street townhomes, a safer and more realistic traffic plan for the alleys, and a thoughtful design attention to the alley-facing facade. And I would really like to emphasize that this is not a wholesale rejection of development. It's a request for a better design, one that respects the neighbors, reflects urban best practices, and minimizes detrimental impacts on the environment and real human beings. Thank you for your time today.
Our third witness is Julie Kurtz Keller. Can you I don't
Can you
see
hear me?
her. Yeah, I don't see her name.
Oh,
I
there
don't see
she
her
is.
name.
Okay,
Okay,
she's
great.
up.
Thank you.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
Great. Okay. Good morning, Julie Kurtz or Julie Kurtz Keller. Obviously one of the 200 footers. So we purchased our Brookland home expecting humane development on the adjacent property, 901 Monroe. But key assumptions from the original 2010 design, reasonable scale, setbacks, green barrier, and alley safety are all missing from today's 2415 proposal. I will present today's condensed remarks, but my complete written testimony has also been submitted. Health and safety. The proposed Lawrence Street alley as ingress-egress for 233 units creates serious safety hazards. Young children, including my 3-year-old, regularly play in this quiet dead-end alley that serves as a community gathering space. With respect to Mr. Ben Casper, who just testified, I don't believe our immediate neighbors know you, but if you pass by, say hello, because we are out there. We're hollering about a spontaneous potluck or throwing balls on Lawrence or riding bikes in the alley. We are hard to miss. Converting our alley to a high traffic corridor puts existing families on the block who have no protection between the alley and their backyards at risk. For my family, our backyard is our essential outdoor space. It's our primary house entrance where we eat dinner, linger, enjoying the sunset, where my daughter harvests beans and tomatoes. The 6-story mass will block sunlight, threatening to decommission our garden beds. How do you put a price on losing the sunset, gardening with your child, or siphoned sunlight from the room where she sleeps? As a mother, my primary concern is safety. It is difficult not to imagine the horror of a vehicle rounding into the alley without regard for the child who has wandered beyond the edge of the backyard. It's a parent's nightmare, transforming our backyard alley into a major traffic way. DDOT estimated only 5 trucks per day for 233 units, 400 residents plus retail. Sometimes my house alone gets 5 deliveries per day. Aren't we talking about hundreds of daily deliveries to 901 Monroe Street? We understand that use of an existing alley is the default standard for DDOT, but also understand that DDOT does make exceptions to this practice when appropriate. 2415 should be such a case. If a heritage tree must be protected, children should also be protected. In a May 13th meeting, DDOT couldn't offer examples of using other dead-end alleys for development that similarly abut unprotected neighbors' backyards. The 200-footer safety is not sufficiently factored into DDOT's decision-making algorithm. In a June 9th meeting, when the 200-footers asked the developers what thought they had given to the ANC conditions regarding alley safety, they had no new ideas to offer, no indication that they had given any additional thought to alley safety, security, and aesthetics, despite these conditions set by the ANC 5B. Based on the evidence to date, we are concerned that the developers' purported agreement to the ANC conditions may be empty promises. 200-footers survey. 20 neighbors participated in our November 2024 200-footer survey. Understanding that the applicant hears all kinds of comments and suggestions within and beyond Brookland, we created the survey as a clarification about the top priorities of the neighbors most affected. We first presented results during a Brookland Civics Association meeting on November 12th. The essential adverse effects and concerns and priority amenities then remain roughly the same today. 2415's massive scale and loss of sunlight, alley traffic and safety, lack of ownership opportunities. Priority amenities included public green space, restaurants, retail, maker space, community garden. All these are submitted in the public record. Developer engagement with the 200-footers. Over 10 months, the development team has demonstrated questionable willingness to take the 200-footers' concerns seriously. Several irregularities exist in their community engagement, including even their inflated list of community meetings and presentations, Exhibit 56, which included events when 901 Monroe could not be discussed, and a ticketed paid event. Additionally, our ANC Commissioner Ra Amin never met exclusively with the 200-footers to understand our concerns, and he failed to set up a promised DDOT meeting. Since all public convenings began, he regularly spoke on behalf of the developers and dismissed neighbors' concerns. We are grateful to the Brookland Civic Association for at least taking some interest in what the concerns of the immediate neighbors might be. And even a couple members of the Zoning and Land Use Committee met with immediate neighbors, curious about our concerns. Our own ANC commissioner never extended that curiosity or courtesy to us. After the initial September meeting, we had only one conversation exclusively between the developers and the 200-footers, and it was convened at the 200-footers' request. During that June 9th meeting, the developers showed clear resistance to using the 2012 construction management agreement as a starting point, despite agreeing to this ANC 5B condition. Again, we're concerned that they committed to conditions to get ANC support, but with no intent to follow through. The development of a good project depends on a good process. More engagement by the applicant with the 200-footers would not only have built trust into this process, it would have created a better project. As Councilman Parker said about the RFK Stadium deal, the council cannot serve as a rubber stamp for whatever deal comes our way. The current deal was negotiated without input from the council or neighbors, and it is vital that we shape the future of these 180 acres at RFK together. We agree. 901 Monroe's 1.4 acres should not be rubber stamped without negotiating and incorporating neighbors' input. We hope to be included so that we can work together on a project that doesn't require immediate neighbors to pay for the developer's financial benefits with our health, safety, and quality of life. Thank you.
Okay, let's go to the next witness. Familiar to Mr. Hood is Guy Durant.
Okay, just letting you guys know there's a little bit above 15 minutes left.
I know, we only have 2 more witnesses. Thank you. Thank you so much. Guy?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, can you see me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Guy Durant, and I reside at 3410 10th Street Northeast, DC. I'm a native Washingtonian, and I live directly next door to the proposed PUD apartment development known as 901 Monroe Street. My neighbors and I, the 200-footers, strongly oppose the approval of this development as proposed. Today, I want to focus specifically on the Construction Management Agreement, the CMA, especially because it is a required condition by ANC 5B if Zoning Commission approval is to be granted. I want to remind the Commission that over a decade ago, when the developers proposed an earlier version of this project under Zoning Case 1028, the parties, including the 200-footers, did agree on a detailed 2012 CMA, which the Commission included with full text in the decision part of its order, which you can do again. That document ran to 7 pages and specifically addressed virtually every area of our concern: traffic, noise, environmental protection, and community safety. Fast forward to today's proposal under Zoning Case 2415, the developers have presented a 2025 version of the CMA that is notably shorter and less comprehensive. This pared down version fails to capture many of the protections we demonstrated were necessary in 2012. Let me draw a few key comparisons. First, on the issue of air quality and ventilation, the 2012 CMA was detailed in requiring measures to prevent encroachment of construction dust, debris, and odors into the surrounding neighborhoods. In contrast, the current 2025 version states general goals about site hygiene and dust control without precise methods or equipment specifications. Construction will undoubtedly reduce the outdoor air quality, and given our proximity, compromise the indoor air quality in our homes. The 200-footers are deeply concerned about not only the dust, but also the lingering odors emanating from large trash cans, especially in the dead-end alley adjacent to our driveways, where we cherish family gatherings and community events. The CMA should require high-quality air purification systems during construction, mandate that the developers utilize equipment and materials designed to minimize dust and odor, and include protocols such as installing powered vents to direct trash odors away from our homes. These specifics were more robustly addressed in 2012 and should be part of any effective plan. Second, regarding structural integrity, many of us worry that the vibrations from drilling, heavy truck movements, and continuous construction activities could adversely affect our older homes, causing earthquake-type damage. The 2012 CMA clearly required stringent measures to monitor construction impacts, such as pre-construction inspections, continuous monitoring of vibrations, and scheduled post-construction surveys of foundational elements, brickwork, siding, and mortar. Unfortunately, the 2025 version lacks comparable detail. I urge the Commission to insist the developers merge the best elements of the 2012 version with the current proposal. This means not only verifying structural integrity through independent pre-inspection and post-inspection, but also ensuring that any damage is promptly and fully repaired at the developer's expense. Moreover, every 200-footer, especially the 6 row houses along 10th Street, should be added to the construction project insurance policy as a quote, named additional insured to secure our financial protection. Third, the CMA should address the issue of recompensation for unforeseen issues, upgrades to safety, and increased property taxes that will impact our homes following construction. We know the large-scale development in our area is likely to boost property assessments. This financial burden, increasing our property taxes, renders our homes less affordable over time. 2012 CMA acknowledged these indirect impacts through a framework of community protections that included compensation factors. In stark contrast, the 2025 version remains silent on these repercussions. I propose that the developers pay a lump sum payment to each 200-footer, especially the 6 row houses along 10th Street, in advance. This sum would compensate not only for the inconvenience and potential structural risk, but also for the inevitable rise in property taxes resulting from the completed project. In closing, while the 2025 CMA does incorporate a modern administrative structure and steers towards efficient communication by designating a representative and neighborhood contact person, it lacks the detailed enforcement measures found in the 2012 version. The older CMA was comprehensive. It contained explicit designations for truck routes, noise restrictions, special decibel limits, rigorous site management protocols, and concrete community safety measures. By merging the detailed protections of the 2012 version with the updated administrative framework of the 2025 version, the final CMA can become the best of both worlds. It can safeguard our quality of life, protect our homes, structural integrity, and compensate us for the losses we may incur. I respectfully request that the DC Zoning Commission require developers to revise the CMA, and actually the ANC made it conditional that they have to do this. Otherwise, what everybody thinks is ANC approval is not actually ANC approval, it's ANC disapproval because it's a conditional approval. So we have to meld the robust enforcement measures from 2012 version with the streamlined communication protocols of the current proposal to ensure our rights and safety. Our neighborhood deserves a plan that does not merely pay lip service to minimize disruption, but one that guarantees detailed, concrete protections against the adverse impacts of the extensive construction. And I'll be glad to take any questions, but I just wanted to emphasize that without jointly agreed to CMA, the ANC voted to disapprove by not conditionally approving this project. So the great weight has to go against the project if there is no consensus on the CMA. Great weight against without CMA. That's the condition. Thank you.
Thank you, Guy. And our last witness is Jamila Gleason, and she has an email that has her former name because this is her married name. Jamila? Mr. Young, do you see her?
Okay.
She's yeah.
I'm on, the video is coming up, I think. All right. Start my video. Can you see me?
No.
We can
Yeah,
see
now
you.
we can
Oh,
see
we
you.
can see you now. We can see you now.
All right. Wonderful. All right. Good evening, everybody. So my name is Jamila Gleason, and I'm just going to sort of read these prepared remarks. There's a Greek proverb that says, a society grows great when old men plant trees in whose shade they never sit. I've been a resident in Brookland since 2011, but my house was built in 1954 by a married couple who served as Black Foreign Service officers when such a job being awarded to Black people was nearly impossible. Brookland as a neighborhood was founded in 1887, but I wish to point this committee's attention to the 1950s and 60s when the Federal Highway Administration decided to route the North Central Freeway right through our neighborhood because there would be no, quote, substantial relocation of persons, end quote. But at the time, Brookland was a thriving Black community where thousands owned homes, including Howard professors, doctors, teachers, and government workers of all stripes. Those neighbors fought for years and ultimately won in court against the demolition of their beloved community, of our beloved community. This is especially relevant because many who have testified indicated they didn't know what was on that block, on this block, before. There were homes, some over 100 years old. They were owned by people at one time or another who fought for this neighborhood. Whichever side of 901 Monroe Street, the development you sit on, but for that opposition, none of us would be here. I have attended meetings about this iteration of 901 since last summer. Since that time, the 200-footers have made active attempts to dialogue about our concerns regarding the project and attempted to engage in constructive conversations about amenities that may not only mitigate the impact of the construction and the building on our current living environment, but also to introduce new recreational opportunities for the entire neighborhood to enjoy. The response to our concerns and ideas has been inadequate and at best seeks to kick the can down the road. We have now reached a fork in that road, the hearing, and unfortunately, our concerns about retail and amenities remain unaddressed. For example, we have asked for community green space. In response, the development team plans to study the land on which Colonel Brooks Mansion sits. It's difficult to envision why studying ground that the development team does not own and will likely never own provides any benefit to the community now or ever, particularly since that land is subject to its own development controversy. Yet in response to the 200-footers request for some type of accessible community green space, this is what we have been offered, a promise to study land the development team does not own with results that are not even remotely actionable. This is not an amenity, and when presented as such an inadequate response brings out the Alabama in me. You'll have to excuse me, but when somebody says something that makes no sense like that, where my people are from, we say that dog won't hunt, and this study is one non-hunting dog. There have been no attempts to mitigate the adverse effects on the row houses as a result of the installation of what equates to a two-way street behind their homes. Indeed, when we met with the developers just 2 weeks ago about the alley, among other concerns, they reminded the 200-footers they do not own the property and said that there's nothing they can do, indicating there has, during this entire process, been no attempt to mitigate. Next, what's happening with the retail spaces has been shifting sands. First, the development team did not plan for any retail. Then the development team was considering some type of live-work arrangement that they acknowledge exists nowhere in the district, and they can't tell us how they envision it working. I understand now there's a plan for approximately 1,500 feet of retail space in response to the greater Brookland and Edgewood community's desire for it, which is certainly a step in the right direction. But I do wish to make one point very clear here, since Commissioner Henchman raised his remarks during the prior hearing date. Yes, there is a 1,500-foot retail space going into the development. Yes, there is a plan to underground power lines. The 200-footers have been advocating for those things since the beginning, during the initial walk-around, in our survey, at the Brookland Civic Association meeting, indeed at several of the meetings. And every time we raised it until very recently, we were told that there was no intention of doing those things. When we, the people most directly impacted by 2 years of imminent construction, have raised these same points, our desires and concerns are dismissed out of hand, which raises concerns about communication going forward. What happens when the streets are torn up or clogged with construction vehicles? What happens when any of the myriad mishaps that occur during a construction project of this size and magnitude affect our block? When no is the immediate and automatic response, it does not inspire a lot of confidence that we, as the 200-footers, are working with responsive neighborhood improvement partners. The development team is offering approximately $125,000 to local charitable organizations. Before there was any plan to activate retail spaces, I suggested during one of our meetings that the development team consider offering lease agreements with these charitable organizations, in my mind, killing two birds with one stone, activating Monroe Street while engaging in goodwill. Each development team representative indicated that they had not considered it and would look into the idea. But mere moments later, the representative from Greater Brookland Intergenerational Village indicated that they had indeed asked for space and been told no. It's disappointing, to hear that some of our neighbors have styled the 200-footers NIMBYs when nothing could be further from the truth. A number of you have indicated that you have informally walked to this block, and in your estimation, the project won't impact the surrounding community negatively. We know this block. We know our neighborhood fox and our neighborhood cat Pete, who loves to have his ears scratched. We have beautiful children and loving parents and neighbors who are intimately involved in social justice matters, to include affordable housing. Have you seen any of that when you walked or jogged by our loved block? There's a reason that 200 footers are required by law to receive communication, to engage in negotiations with the developers. We are most directly impacted, and because we are most familiar with the neighborhood nuances, because we live here. This is our block. Yet, though it is our block, it is the 200 footers who have advocated for this development to offer more affordable housing than what has been offered: senior housing, retail space, community green space, and spaces to house local charitable organizations. I can say one thing for certain. Everybody involved today wants right-sized development for Brookland that will help address the housing crisis in this city. The 200 footers have been listening to the community and advocating for that since the very beginning. But responsible development of this or any property requires a modicum of trust between the development team and the nearby neighbors. I want to believe that we are all too sophisticated to believe misinformation intended to divide us as neighbors. Unfortunately, this process has been rife with irregularities and a lack of candor that has impeded the building of credibility between the development team and the 200 footers. Indeed, in what represents a damning admission regarding this lack of communication with the 200 footers, during the prior hearing date, the applicant, when specifically asked about communication with the 200 footers, continually said they were, quote, in communication with the community, end quote, implying the greater community because they know they have intentionally avoided working with us. In closing, this project will bring at least 2 years of significant construction noise. There will be heavy equipment, significantly increased and rerouted traffic, and several other impediments that will impact everyone in the neighborhood, after which the 200 footers will be living next to a 75-foot building that dwarfs every other building nearby. This was once a Black neighborhood where Black construction workers and sanitation workers and intellectuals and government workers fought against a highway and won. This is our only opportunity to do what our ancestors and elders did to ensure that there would even be a Brookland to fight over, have our voice heard by this reasonable and august body. So let us all strive to leave a legacy that we can be proud of in this moment. Let us all work together to plant trees under whose shade we will never sit. And with that, I will yield. Thank you.
Thank you. I think we lived within our 51 minutes, didn't we? If not, a couple seconds, but I think we lived within it.
I thank you, Ms. Ackerman. Unless can't see what's going on, we're going to work with that clock too, so we can see it. They still have 5 minutes or 6 minutes or so.
I thought we were doing.
I had mine set to 61 minutes, but the timer just went off.
Oh, well, we're gonna go by the clock that's been shown publicly. I'm gonna go by this one that's in black and purple, or whatever color it is. And we're gonna work on that, Mr. Young, you, Michelle, and Ms. Ackerman. Let's work on that so people like me can see it better. But it's 5 minutes and 55 seconds. Do you have anything else, Ms. Kalo? Thank you, Ms. Ackerman.
That's our whole panel, and we're available to answer questions. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Okay. Good. All right. I thank the party, 200 footers, and also the Brooklyn BNCA for your presentation to us today. I have a few questions. We asked BNCA already. I have a few questions, but I'm not going to start. I'm going to ask my colleagues to go first. Commissioner Moore, you have any questions or comments?
No questions. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Commissioner Wright, any questions or comments?
Not at this time. I'm sort of still absorbing everything I've heard.
Commissioner Stidham, any questions or comments?
I have two questions. So the list of concerns of the 200 footers, which I think is in Exhibit 36, was that shared with the applicant?
Yes, I believe it was. Julie, you're talking about the survey, Julie?
And I don't have the exhibits in front of me.
I think it's a summary of the survey. It's Exhibit 36, which I have too many windows open. Oh, no, sorry, it's Exhibit 16A, apologies. Communities, concerns, and amenities. So I think it's separate from the survey results, which is at another exhibit item.
Yeah, and I'm trying to pull that up, and I know I believe in my written testimony, I indicate there which exhibits it is. So I'm trying to pull that up right now just to make sure, confirm, because I believe it's 16A, something like that sounds right. And then my original letter, which is maybe right around there, also puts the survey results embedded into my original letter of opposition. So it's in there a couple times. It was submitted in January. Both of those were submitted in January of this year.
Okay.
So, and they were first presented at the BNCA meeting in November, but those were an oral presentation that we summarized the top concerns, and then there was a follow-up in writing in the written record in January.
Okay. And you never, so you submitted, you provided testimony and you submitted this list, but I believe in your testimony, you stated that the 200 footers never met with the applicant alone. Or I believe, or you met once. I was a little confused about.
Yeah, so obviously there were community meetings when we were certainly both present. The only meeting exclusively with the development team and the 200 footers, that was convened at the 200 footers request. I sent an email in early May of this year. 3 weeks later, they responded, and then we coordinated a meeting on June 9th. And there we met actually at a neighbor's house and walking in the aforementioned alley, so we could do a walking tour discussion.
And you discussed your concerns with the applicant at that time, in addition to other testimony you provided. I'm just trying to get a sense of how you communicated your wants and interests and concerns to the applicant.
Sure. So I'd say community meetings are one of the primary ways. There were 200 footers present at every single public meeting. Usually many of us, sometimes we were almost the entire meeting. So they certainly had much opportunity here. Then the BNCA also held 2 meetings, if I'm not correct or mistaken, in which this 901 Monroe was discussed and they heard from 200 footers. Yes, we did not meet exclusively with our ANC commissioner.
Okay. And you never, the response you received from the applicant related to all of these concerns, I mean, did you receive a response?
We never received a written response. The meeting that was on June 9th, we focused on amenities and are concerned that the amenities package they proposed did not address any of our suggestions and requests. We also focused heavily on alley safety. Part of that was because the ANC's conditions had recently come out, requiring alley safety, security, and aesthetics to be improved in coordination with the neighbors. And we wanted to hear what they had been thinking about in response to those ANC conditions and actually walk them through our alley to see how exposed we are. And that's when we didn't get any indication from them that they had given any thought to additional alley safety and security aesthetics measures.
Okay. Thank you. Chair Hood, I yield back to you.
Hey, can I just
No, hold tight. Who's that? No, hold tight.
It's Guy.
Yeah, hold tight, God Durant. Hold tight. Vice Chair, I'm coming to you myself if somebody else says. Vice Chair Miller, any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And thank you, Barbara Kalo and the witnesses, Ms. Noya and Ms. Kurtz and Mr. Durant, and Ms. Gleason, for your very thoughtful, comprehensive testimony, including Ms. Kalo quoting back our comments at set down and our questions, which we did further explore at the last hearing, and we'll, but that reminds me to continue to explore that further with the applicant in terms of compatibility with the surrounding neighborhood and sufficient setbacks and step downs adjacent to the 10th Street neighbors. And I did ask the applicant about the alternative zone, Ms. Kalo, that you recommended or suggested, MU5A. I recall, my recollection is, and I'll explore this again with the applicant when we have the opportunity. My recollection is that well, number one, the difference between 70 feet and 75 feet. It's 6 stories because we did sufficient floor to ceiling and a lot of technical.
I think, are we losing you, Vice Chairman?
We lost.
We're losing. I think we're having some connection issues.
Can't hear you.
I turned off my video.
Okay.
Can you hear me better now?
Yeah, we can hear you better now.
Okay, if you lose me, I'll come back I'll log on and log off, but where did you lose me?
You were talking about something previously. Just repeat I think the last question.
You were just, I wrote it down verbatim. Do you want to know exactly what you said?
Sure.
We heard.
Go right
You
ahead.
were talking about the 70 versus 75 feet, that they wouldn't get 6 stories because of the floor to ceiling. I would like to make a comment, however, that there was 6 stories the last time when it was 61 feet. So that answer was not accurate.
Okay, so the other thing that I gleaned was that the MU5A, if it was a straight map amendment, they said it would not pencil out with the 20% inclusionary zoning set aside. Anyway, I mean, that's just a kind of a recap of what I did explore in response to what you previously provided in terms of information and what we said it set down. I guess, and so I will explore further when we have opportunity with the applicant some of those questions. I wonder, given that, I don't need a long answer, but given that you so strenuously, the 200 footers were so strenuously opposed the previous iteration of this development 10 to 12 to 13 years ago, and I wasn't on that case. It's so long ago that it predates even my long tenure on the zoning commission. And so you strenuously opposed it. You successfully appealed the zoning commission's multiple actions on that, approvals of that. And now you're saying that you like that previous iteration because it had less height, 61 versus 75, it had less FAR, 3.3 versus 4.2. It had the alley access, it had the loading access off of 9th Street instead of the alley behind the 10th Street properties. And had one more, had a more robust construction management agreement, Mr. Durant. So do you regret opposing that development, given that you've gotten?
And I can answer that. No. Commissioner Miller, it was inconsistent with the law. It was trying to retain the scale of the neighborhood. Now they changed the law And the reason I suggested an alternative is because even though they've gone to medium, they could have MU5A versus MU5B, because we don't want a 90-foot precedent. And we opposed it because it was inconsistent with the law. Now it's consistent with the law, but not in all ways. As I explained at the end, they don't have the amenities which are required for PUDs, for community amenities. So they still don't understand that to have a project that works, they need to be consistent with the law, and they should talk to us. They didn't talk to us the last time either. But anyway, we opposed it not because it was awful, but because it was inconsistent with the law and was too big for the site. So they got a spot zoning, which is terrible precedent. And that's why we're here today.
And can I just echo what Barbara's saying? That's exactly right. But it's echoes of last time here. Whereas before they wanted C2B and we were recommending C2A. And so we weren't against development. We were just the same situation. We wanted just one zoning tick down, and they were so greedy and so arrogant, they didn't want to do it. Everybody would say, well, C2A is just as good. We even hired an architect to show them alternatives. Our doors were always open. We were willing to work with them, but it was always their way or the highway. And I do have to say, when we met with the developer on June 9th of this year, and I asked them, I said, what's going on with the CMA? The ANC said they conditionally approved. All you got to do is just work with us on the CMA. And I said, send us a red letter, a red lined, mock-up of what you want. And they still haven't done it. They still haven't done it. They said, well, we'll think about it. And they hemmed and hawed. I've never seen them send anything at all to us, even a little bit. They keep sticking by their version because it's their way or the highway. They've always had that little arrogance chip on their shoulder where it's their way or the highway. And also, when it comes to inclusionary zoning, one of the reasons they didn't want C2A the last time was because they would have had to pay or have a little bit more, I think, of inclusionary zoning versus C2B. And I just feel like that's kind of cheesy to not want a project just because you have to provide lower housing or lower income housing or family housing. So it just seems like there was always a greed element and a lack of willingness to work with us. But we've always supported development. So we, even on our signs, when we were against it, we said C2A, not C2B. And here Barbara is telling you, it should be MU5A, Barbara, instead of MU5B.
Yes.
So they're against that. They don't even want the smallest change. It's always their way or the highway. For years, our doors have been open. For years, we've been listening and willing to work with them. I've asked them time and time again, let me meet with your architect. Let me talk to your architect. I haven't talked to their architect. Their architect hasn't come to us. So, I mean, it's just really arrogant and greedy of them. That's all I want to say about that.
Okay. I appreciate the responses. I would just, you don't have to respond to my next comment, but you can if you need to. Which is that, if the developer found a way to pencil out the MU5A map amendment, you wouldn't have a PUD, you wouldn't have any public amenities, you wouldn't have any of the design efforts that are being made with the bays and the setbacks from the 10th Street properties. You'd have a 70-foot breadth versus a 75, but you do realize that you've gone down this path before and gotten a worse development from your point of view. You could be going down a path where you get a worse development from your point of view today. That's my comment. I know you realize that. I know you know what you're doing.
I just want to talk to their architect, and just because a lot of the stuff they've drawn is sketchy, like the alley. When you see pictures of the alley, it's all fuzzy and there's no details on it. And I asked them, I said, well, can we get more detailed plans, kind of blueprinty kind of stuff to see what's really going on? Because I want to get into just like, how are the cars going to get in? Where's the security cam? Where's the lights? I asked them about the lights in the alley. I don't even know. It's going to be a dark alley or is it going to be a lit alley? Because right now there's telephone poles in there with lights. So I don't know where the lights are going to go. Do you? Do we know? I mean, it sounds simple, but we're concerned about.
We can ask about that, but it's certainly in that development's interest to have lighting and for that alley to work. But anyway, thank you very much for your very thoughtful and comprehensive testimony. And I hope my video can come back.
Okay, thank you. I would say I echo a lot of what the Vice Chair's line of questioning was, because when I hear the statements now, and we keep going back to the case we had some years ago and many times, it seems like if I listen to what I'm hearing, as the Vice Chair mentioned, and what I'm hearing from Mr. Durant and Ms. Kalo and others, seems like you pushed back last time. You got something this time that's more or less desirable. But the difference, Ms. Kalo, is, as you know, is the law has changed.
Right.
And now the issue that you had some years ago, when we had the flexibility to deal with it, you know, the courts sent it back, vacated, and whatever else they did. So now we're going in another direction. I even thought the design was better then, but we're going to work with what we have now. And I don't know what the commission is going to do after we finish analyzing and doing our own discovery when we get all of the regulations. But let me go back to something, Ms. Cato, that you've been saying quite a bit about spot zoning. I think you said that once before, and I know your name goes synonymous with zoning in the city. I've been around a while, so I'll give you that. But I believe if this was spot zoning, this would not be in front of us. And I'll leave that up to the lawyers, but I just want to correct that for the record. I don't believe that your assessment of this being spot zoning is spot zoning. I don't think this case is spot zoning, because if that was the case, we'd be doing spot zoning all over the city, and we're not. I don't necessarily have a question for you, Ms. Kalo, but let me go to Ms. Kurtz. I'm very concerned about Ms. Kurtz's issue about traffic. Ms. Kurtz, I hear you loud and clear. I'm going to ask the applicant to expand on that and not put you in promised land. I want to find out more about the issue with the alley and the traffic and the safety issues, because that's what the commission, that's what our charge is, to make sure that the residents of the District of Columbia and all competing interests, that we protect the safety and health of the residents of the District of Columbia. And so, Mr. Thomas, if you hear me talking, know that I want to talk about the safety issues that Ms. Kurtz had mentioned. Now, the CMA, Mr. Durant, I agree with the CMA. I'm going to ask the applicant about that. But the only fundamental problem I had about the CMA, and I heard you say this, and maybe you can explain yourself, is about giving you some money up front. I mean, did I hear you right? Did I hear you say give everybody some money?
That was not in the original CMA.
I know it wasn't, and it shouldn't be in this CMA either. So let me, because I can tell you, I think that's illegal. I think that's illegal. Okay,
Yeah,
Kayla says not. I think it is.
You know what? That was my personal opinion about just making sure that we're not screwed over, but it's not a requirement. And that was just one of the things. Since the amenities package is so poor, I didn't know what was allowed by law as far as amenities to affected neighbors. So if that's not allowed, that's fine. But we are going to be hurt. We are going to lose out. So I was just trying to propose, in my mind, what were some alternatives. But I don't really care so much about that. I more care about, making sure that we don't get hurt and our properties aren't damaged, and that we're not, choking on the dust and having rats everywhere, So those are the kind of things I want to make sure are covered. I can't hear you. You're muted, I think. You're muted.
I don't know what I can do, but we can do about the rats and all that. That's just an urban problem we have in the city. But I will tell you that I am concerned about you all's property, and I'm going to push on the CMA. I just want to make sure that I take the money piece out of it. So, Mr. Thomas, get ready for that one. That's coming as well. And I do have a question for Ms. Gleason. Ms. Gleason, I heard in your testimony that you said you wanted more affordable housing, but we're talking about less density. My whole tenure here on the zoning commission, I've never heard that equation work. I've never heard it where, you always have to push the envelope to be able to build the density. So can you explain to me more about, you want to push more affordable housing, but you want less density. How does that work, or is that even doable?
Well, when I say we've always lied, I'm hearing feedback for some reason. Can you hear me all right?
Let me turn mine off. Hold on one second. You can go ahead.
All right. when I say that we want more affordable housing, I mean, there are people in this neighborhood, myself included, who have been advocates for affordable housing. So I think it's unfair. I don't want to even use the word unfair, but I know that it's incorrect to paint us as people who are against affordable housing, which I think is one of the things that has ended up occurring in this process. I mean, when we're talking about particularly the zoning regulations, as my neighbor, Mr. Durant, just mentioned, in the prior iteration of this project, if you go down to, I think it was 3A, there was a requirement for higher affordable housing percentages. And here, if you go down to MUA 5A, there's a requirement for higher, at least in my understanding, there's a requirement for higher affordable housing percentages.
Right.
So when we say we are proponents for affordable housing, that's what we mean. We're asking the developers, not just for things, and I think this is part of our larger point, right? That we're not just asking for things that affect us and impact us directly. I mean, the green space is certainly one of the things that we've asked for. The retail is also something we've asked for. And the affordable housing, the higher percentage of affordable housing, I mean, it's my understanding that if they go down to 5A, that's a loss of 5 feet, but there's a way that the building can be designed so that they don't lose density. And so, you know, I'm not the expert. I was not appointed as the expert here. But that is how we've always styled our opposition. It's always been to right size this project so that we can all sort of benefit and provide a benefit to help alleviate the housing crisis in DC.
Okay, thank you. I'm gonna ask everybody to go on mute while I'm talking. And Mr. Young, at some point, we got to figure out why I'm getting a lot of feedback. So I think even when I am off, others may be off too. So let's make sure everybody's on mute. Okay, Ms. Gleason, I appreciate it. I just wanted to try to kind of do a little discovery on that and see if maybe you could bring something, because that's been an issue for me for a while. And I want to see if you had something that, even though you say you might not be an expert, but you could have the idea that we need. So I wanted to hear that. So thank you.
I mean, if I provide anything helpful, then you know that's my goal. That's really my goal, is just to provide helpful feedback so we can right size this building so that we can have families and you know, young professionals move into our neighborhood and show them just how wonderful of a neighborhood, of a block this is.
Okay.
Can I say something about affordable housing?
Mr. Durant, unless the commission, and I know you, here's the problem. When you know people, I'm trying to run a tight hearing. I know you, I know Ms. Kalo, I've been knowing y'all for years, but I'm trying to, I know what you want to say. I think you've said it. We get it. We know where you are. So can we just let me move forward so we can keep the record clean? Okay, because then I'll get accused, whether you know it or not. He's showing his friends favoritism, and I don't try to do that. So look, maybe you'll get it in somewhere else, or maybe you can submit it. But thank you. What I'd like to do now is also follow up on something Ms. Kalo has mentioned to the applicant. There's some responses that my colleagues have asked for, and I'll let them decide whether they know it or not, but I need them to respond to that when we get ready to do it. When we get ready to do rebuttal, but we're going to go to those in opposition first. But let's take I'm looking for Commissioner Stidham and Commissioner Memorial. Can we take about 10 minutes?
Don't we have cross-examination of these witnesses?
Yeah, I need to take about 10 minutes for a break. We've been going for like 2 hours and 15 minutes. And, you know, we're humans. So we need to take about a 10-minute break and we'll come right back. And we're going to come right back to that. Okay? Thank you. Okay, we can start coming back up. Turn up circuit here. All right, we're gonna go back in session. I think we have everyone here. We're gonna do cross-examination. Did all my colleagues finish asking any questions? I think we finished. Okay. Let's go to Mr. Thomas. Do you have any questions of the party in opposition?
No questions.
Okay, Mr. Young, are you still getting that feedback?
Yeah, I am.
Okay, all right. But when everybody else is muted, you don't get it, right?
Correct.
Okay, all right. I just have to keep trying to figure it out. We'll figure it out. We'll schedule some time. All right, Commissioner Rahameen, any cross-examination?
No questions.
Again, Commissioner Henchman, I don't believe is here. Ms. President Amore, any questions?
No questions, thank you.
Okay, so no one had any questions for the party in opposition. We thank you. So with that, thank you all, 200 footers and Brooklyn Neighbors Civic Association. Thank you. All right, Mr. Tummins, let's come back with some rebuttal. And I will ask all the parties to stick around just to have, in case you have questions, cross questions on rebuttal. But you know what? We can't go to rebuttal. Let me go to the persons in opposition first.
I was just gonna remind you. Okay, so there's only 3 and they are all here. It's gonna be John Feely, Joseph Keller, and Alta Beals.
Okay, let's bring all of them. Okay, we're gonna start off with Mr. John Feely first.
He was on and it looks like he dropped off, so I would
Okay.
start with the others and come back.
Okay, sounds good. Let's go with Ms. Bills. Bells. Hopefully I didn't mispronounce it.
You did not, can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, perfect, thank you. My name is Alta Beals, and in the spirit of being transparent, I am one of the 200 footers, but I also requested to speak as a member of the public in this zoning hearing. We bought here in August of 2024, and I live at 915 Lawrence Street, right across the street from the new building. I want to strongly note that we, my significant other and I, are not opposed to development on the site. We just want to ensure it is the right development for the current and future community. In my 18 years of living in multiple DC neighborhoods, I have seen amazing developments, revitalize residential and economic corridors from U Street to Shaw, Navy Yard to Southwest, Noma to Union Market, all bringing huge benefits to residents and businesses and city alike. However, the 901 project as proposed feels like a maximalist pitch, taking all of the zoning liberties while providing none of the benefits associated with the zoning change request. The proposal asks everyone in the area to give up sky and sunlight, deal with large increases in congestion while failing to provide robust, normal first floor business spaces to connect the Monroe Street Market to the 12th Street businesses already here in Brooklyn. As part of the 200 footer group, I volunteered to gather signatures for the party status application. It afforded me an opportunity to meet and listen to my new neighbors about their history in the Brooklyn community and their concerns. And what surprised me was that as I was meeting my fellow 200 footers, I was almost always introduced to more neighbors, 1 or 3 or sometimes 5 streets away, who had similar concerns. And I bring this up because I know a lot of the conversations center around the 200 footers concerns and the broader community loving the idea, but I do think there is quite a mix of concern with the project, even broader than the 200 footers. Many of the Brooklyn neighborhoods discussed with me how much they also want very strong development project at 901 Monroe Lot. They want a new injection of neighbors and businesses added to the DC community, but they were confused and frustrated by some of the choices being made in the project. The height and the mixed use were the top concerns that I heard talking to neighbors, as well as traffic flow being a close third. And then, of course, conversations about lack of green space amenities and homeowner options. But just to touch quickly on the first three, many neighbors noted to me the changing of the zoning to allow for now a max height of 75 feet, or per the current project plan of 6 stories, drastically changed the neighborhood skyline with consequential effects to the Brooklyn's aesthetic look and character, as well as the community's sunlight and airflow. The change is stark and concerning, but changing the height while not being afforded the zoning changes of the mixed use benefit really took a lot of the Brooklyn residents I talked to by surprise and off guard. A small portion of business development that has an intense time clock for success has been re-added thanks to amazing campaign by John Leibowitz and other neighbors, but nothing like what is seen on the other side of the tracks of the Brooklyn Arts Walk and the ground floor businesses that pepper that area. Reaping the benefits of the mixed-use height, but negating the mixed-use business development forever creates a void, which could be critical foot activation to bridge and thus boost up an economic corridor continuing down the path, both sides of Monroe Street, connecting with 12th Street businesses right across from a key metro area. Lastly, I'll just really quick mention regarding the traffic flow and safety. Many neighbors surrounding the areas talk to me about their concern for what a strong child population we have in this area due to a plethora of families and schools. I heard concerns that the single point of ingress and egress for the traffic flow, for how it will create stoppages and flow issues in the area, is going to make for unmanageable and dangerous traffic flow that concern many neighbors, as well as all the goods and services required that many have already talked about today. With that, I won't belabor these points further, as I know we already heard from many more knowledgeable and eloquent speakers than myself on these matters. But as someone who walks Brooklyn streets, meeting a plethora of my new neighbors beyond just the 200 footers, I did want to convey some of the really great conversations I had with them about the broader community concerns. And I thank you for your time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Let's go to Mr. Keller.
Good evening, commissioners. My name is Joseph, and I am a Brookland resident born in DC and speaking in opposition to this proposal in its current form, not because we oppose the new development or housing, but because this process has lacked representation from critical members of the community. We have equity policies in this country to protect those who suffer disproportionate negative impacts, people who lack the platform or the resources to advocate for themselves when they're in the minority. That's exactly what's happening here. This development process has undermined and is undermining the platform of those who will bear the greatest burden, the 200 footers group. I've heard that a racial and equity lens was applied to this analysis. If so, I haven't seen it. There's a lack of demographic representation in this process that was surprising. Why don't the proponents of this proposal represent the rich diversity of Brookland? Not everyone feels comfortable and empowered to speak out in places like these, so it's clear that many voices are missing. When we ask who bears the cost versus who reaps the benefits, the answer is clear. My 90-year-old neighbor 3 doors down, who's been in the neighborhood since 1975. She deserves representation. The children of this neighborhood, including my own 3-year-old daughter, whose health and safety are at stake, they deserve representation. The vulnerable populations being drowned out by louder, more resourced interests, they deserve representation. They bear, and we bear, the disproportionate burden while being distanced from the potential benefits. Representation requires that this development incorporate the uniqueness of this block and its neighbors. DDOT does acknowledge, as they have in a meeting with us on May 13th, 2025, that the proposed egress in our alley represents a transportation scenario that exists nowhere else in the entire district. Yet, the solution proposed to address this is generic protocol. That's not safety for the surrounding community. It's dangerous. A unique challenge deserves a unique representative solution. Supposedly neighbors whom we have never met and testified today claim to know the comings and goings of this alley. That accuracy is highly suspect at best and disingenuous at worst. Honestly, I prefer not to be here tonight. Like many of you, we have lots of life challenges right now. We're trying to raise a child while dealing with the federal workforce disruptions that have personally impacted my family. I'd rather advocate for something than against something. But when our own ANC won't even acknowledge their conditional support for this project, we have to stand up for ourselves. It's disappointing. We are troubled and concerned that neither the applicant nor our ANC have plans to uphold their agreement or ensure compliance. But we're still neighbors, still Brooklanders. We're hoping to find something that we can champion together so that the 200-footers can become as passionate about this project as its proponents. We look forward to welcoming our new neighbors because they will really be our neighbors. But it matters how we get there. Commissioners, demand more than the status quo. Reject this proposal and encourage one worthy of Brookland, one that acknowledges rather than ignores those who bear the highest cost. Thank you all for the opportunity to speak, and thank you all to those who participate in this process.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Philly, John Philly.
Let's see, I've got, trying to unmute. Can you hear me?
You sound speaking. You can speak up a little bit.
Okay, thank you.
There you go.
So my name is John Feely. I'm a former commissioner on Advisory Neighborhood Commission 5A and 5B. So I've been around for the negotiations concerning this block for the whole 15 years and attended many meetings about the proposal for development. Yeah. I oppose the current application before the Zoning Commission to grant 901 Monroe Street LLC a planned unit development. My opposition is based on two factors. The first is the development team has not engaged in meaningful, okay.
We can still see you, Mr. Philly. Can you see us? Can you hear me?
Okay. Hi. I was dropped somehow. Can you hear me?
No, you're still on. We can see you. Can you see us? We can hear you. So if you want to continue your testimony, we can.
I can.
Now you just muted yourself. Okay, now you're good. Go ahead. You muted yourself again. Paula, you're not muting them, are you?
I am not, no. I am not, no.
Okay. By the way, you still hear that echo?
I do.
Okay, I closed another page. Okay, Mr. Philly, you can go ahead. I guess we have a way of reaching him. He thinks he dropped, but he's still on. Can you hear me? John Philly, can you hear me?
He probably can't hear you and needs to turn off his video like I did.
Okay.
I think he's calling. We'll give him a minute. Let's just give him a moment. Mr. Ackerman, we don't have anyone else, right?
No other opponents, just three undeclared, and none of the three are here.
Oh, so we don't have anybody else.
Okay. Okay. All right. So you can hear me. I hear me. Okay. So I have been at meetings and as a commissioner heard the discussion on the development of this site for 15 years. And I do speak in opposition for two reasons. The first is the development team has not engaged in meaningful community discussion concerning their plans for the block with the people who matter the most, the 200 footers. And so the 901 Monroe Street LLC partners have a history of ignoring the input of those most affected by their plans for this city block. Once again, the 200 footers. While they have made the required number of community presentations concerning this proposed development, they have throughout their 15 years of attempting to get a project approval, ignored input from 5B residents with concerns about it, especially the current residents of the block. On the other hand, they've gotten the support of citywide development groups like Greater Washington and the Coalition for Smarter Growth. The staff for these organizations are at every hearing that I've been at. And on the other hand, 901 Monroe Street partners have ignored and dismissed community suggestions for architectural modifications, also for recommendations concerning the half-block alley, and have not had any response from the developers over the years. They haven't shown any willingness to work with the 200 footers. And this demonstrates a lack of commitment to a major element in the PUD process, considering and incorporating community input. It's this part of the process which they've continued to ignore since 2011. Their tactics and community engagement included a well-remembered intrusion into the Brookland Neighborhood Civic Association meeting in December of 2011. With a resolution pending concerning the first 901 Monroe LLC PUD from the Civic Association, a group of Colonel Brooks Tavern employees arrived to become BNC members the same night and then vote for a resolution in support of the PUD. One waiter informed the gathered members that he had been told to come that night, join Brookland Civic with his membership paid by his employer, and cast his vote in favor of the first proposed PUD or lose his job. In terms of recognition of the impact on the historic nature of this site, which I think is important, the developer has ignored the already identified historic resources surrounding their project. At this entrance to Brookland, instead of the Art Deco sign we see at the base of 12th Street and Rhode Island Avenue, or any kind of community garden like we have at Michigan and 10th or Michigan and 12th, the developers have designed a building that will dwarf everything else around it, at the same time ignoring the history of our neighborhood and its varied architecture. Currently, the 901 Monroe LLC website praises the current project design as a seamless connector between Monroe Street Market and 12th Street. Where are the architectural features that would create this seamless bridge from one neighborhood to another? The height and density created by the proposed 901 Monroe Street design dwarfs the historic Luke C. Moore High School building, built in 1891, and ignores the landmark DCTV building built in 1835 and towers over the current homes of the block. Also, and just as significantly, the proposed structure pointedly ignores the homes of the 200 footers and makes no attempt to accommodate their access to light or open space. There are no height setbacks proposed for the east side of the building where the current residents of the block reside. The service entrance and dumpsters for the new structure are proposed for the current half-block long alleyway behind the remaining row houses that face 10th Street. Basically, there's no attempt to create any sort of seamless architectural context that reflects the early 20th century row houses, the Greek Revival mansion, and the wood frame houses that surround the site, which leaves us with a large rectangular prism with a central break in the 6-story height facing 9th Street, not 10th Street, where the remaining houses are. Needless to say, the current design does not reflect any of the community input that suggested accommodations should be made for the comfort, sense of space, or even recognition of the existence of the 200-footer neighbors. One would think that after 15 years of considering how to develop this site, a building that somehow reflected the neighborhood for which it was designed might be proposed. And one would think that some greater understanding of shared concerns might have produced a compromise between residents and the development team, but no. 901 Monroe LLC has remained committed to their original purpose to build a structure of maximum height and density allowed by the city. And based on their unwillingness to follow the intent of the PUD process and their lack of appreciation for the historic nature of their site, I believe that 901 Monroe LLC should not be granted their requested PUD in this case, 2415 before the Zoning Commission. And thank you for giving me an opportunity to speak.
Okay, thank you. Again, if everybody can mute, because I'm getting feedback. So, all right, we will, colleagues, can you hear me, Mr. Philly? If not, don't worry about it. So let me see if we have any questions. I'm looking at my colleagues. I'm just going to ask in general, any questions or comments to this panel? Okay, everybody's saying no. Okay. Again, we want to thank you all, but let's see if we have any cross. Mr. Tummins? No cross? I see, okay. Chair, Commissioner Rahameen, 5B?
No cross, no questions.
Okay, and again, Mr. Henchman, I don't think has joined us yet. Ms. Kalo?
No questions.
President Amore, any questions, cross?
No questions or cross. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Ackerman, can we bring the 3 undeclared up, and then I think we will be ready for rebuttal.
Edna Hirsch, Alex Schaefer, and John Dugas. I'm checking now again to see if they come on in the last few minutes.
Oh, they're not here. Okay.
No, they're not. I just wanted to call them.
Okay, so I think we've gotten everyone, and the ones' names we've called were not here, so I guess we will continue to move forward. Mr. Tummins, how much time do you need for rebuttal?
We can do our rebuttal in 12 minutes.
Okay, let me know when you're ready, and you all may begin.
Sure. Thank you very much. And thank you to the commission for continuing this very important review of this project. First, I'd like to ask Mr. Andrew Vincent, on behalf of the applicant, a couple of questions. First, Mr. Vincent, did you meet with the 200-footers before this application was filed?
We did, 100% yes. We engaged a meeting with them prior to filing. We thought it was very important to meet with them first. We kicked off this whole community engagement process specifically with the 200-footers. In addition, as part of our ongoing communication, we launched a website for the project. We had a FAQ on that website that we updated throughout the process for complete transparency on changes that were being made and responding to questions that were asked of us. So that was done in written form on the website and updated continuously. Over the course of the process of the community engagement process, we received 50 emails from the community regarding the project. I'll just note that only 4 of those, or roughly 8%, were from the 200 footers.
Thank you. In regard, you mentioned the changes that were made to the project throughout this process. Were any of those changes made in response to direct issues raised by the 200 footers, say in their survey, or by feedback that you received from the community at these community meetings?
100%, yes. So we made many changes in response to community feedback, including addressing many of the concerns that were brought up in the 200-footer survey. Some of these included the incorporation of the retail live workspace along Monroe Street to further activate that street frontage. No residential parking permits for the residents of the building was something that we changed based on feedback. Direct entrances off Lawrence Street is another thing we changed in response. Undergrounding the utilities on Monroe, again, that's about $1 million investment that we agreed to make that change. As you know, in response to concerns over the alley and traffic speeds, we agreed to put in speed bumps into the alley to slow down traffic and respond to that concern. And we also expanded the construction management plan in response to concerns that we heard from the 200 footers in the larger community.
So if you expanded that, why didn't you just agree to use the old construction management agreement as the basis for this new construction management agreement?
So we did use it as the basis. It's important to note that the construction project that is being proposed in this application is quite different than the previous one in terms of the construction impact. Specifically, there's no significant demolition or excavation required as part of this project. And so the impacts on the neighbors in terms of dust and noise and trucks is going to be a lot less. There are, in response to some of the concerns that Mr. Durant brought up, he talked about pre and post construction surveys being part of the old plan. That's in this plan. We have pre and post construction surveys, and we also have timelines in the construction management plan to complete any repairs caused from any damage caused from our construction activities. Dust control, rodent control, that's all in our construction management plan. Although again, I will note that this project is going to have much less impact due to the lack of significant demolition or excavation. But we are happy to provide a detailed analysis in our post-closing statement.
Thank you. Now I'm going to switch over to Mr. Detman. I have a couple of questions for him. Mr. Detman, could you please address the allegations that this project results in spot zoning?
Certainly, and good evening, commissioners. I thought maybe I'd answer that question and sort of put it within the context of the standard that the commission applies in a PUD case, that three-pronged standard, one of them being that the commission must find the project to be not inconsistent with the comprehensive plan. And as you know, that in 2021, the council changed the comprehensive plan and specifically the future land use map designation for this site. And so essentially, what the commission is doing right now is implementing those land use policy directives, those land use policy changes that the council made in adopting the comprehensive plan. Commissioner Hood, you mentioned, I think, a prior case about that addressed the issue of spot zoning, and certainly here, this is not spot zoning. There's lots of case law on the two-pronged test that was established by the courts in terms of addressing specifically whether something is spot zoning. That's the Darrow case, D-A-R-O. And in that case, the two-pronged test is that in order for something to be constituted as spot zoning, it has to involve a single property and it has to be deemed inconsistent with the comprehensive plan. It has to be both. And here again, as I mentioned, here we have a comprehensive plan where the existing zoning of the site is arguably inconsistent with the comprehensive plan. And in this particular case, the PUD-related map amendment to MU5 essentially would be implementing the new future land use map designation for this site. I wanted to, Ms. Kalo mentioned that this MU5B rezoning would be precedent, bad precedent setting for future map amendments or PUDs. And that's not the case either. The zoning regulations specifically speak to that. In subtitle X, section 300.4, it specifically says, the PUD application may include a related zoning map amendment. A PUD-related zoning map amendment is valid only in combination with and contingent upon a project being built and operated under the conditions of the PUD approval. And this is the sentence that's most important. PUD-related map amendments establish no precedent for the Zoning Commission's consideration of permanent changes to the zoning of the PUD site or adjacent areas, or for consideration of future PUDs.
Thank you. Mr. Detman, could you also please compare the PUD benefits and amenities that are provided in this project to the Hanover PUD on 8th Street, which was discussed by President Amore?
Sure. And again, kind of putting that in the context of the three-prong standard that the Zoning Commission applies here, the third prong being that the PUD has to include specific public benefits and project amenities that are not inconsistent with the comp plan. So that case on 8th Street was case number 18-21. It was a much bigger project. That project was 325,000 square feet. This project is 250,000 square feet. That project had 377 units. This project has 230 units. So again, a much bigger project, but when you align the PUD benefits packages for that project and this project, our benefits package is either identical or outpaces that one. And just to go through it very quickly, because Ms. Kalo did sort of line by line. That project has a 5,100 square foot public plaza. This project provides substantial setbacks along Monroe Street. The plaza, the additional setback, the land area that's being provided for wider sidewalks and better pedestrian circulation, that's 3,200 square feet of this that's being devoted to public access. If you add to that the $30,000 contribution that's being made for other open space study at the Brooks Mansion, certainly that is at least comparable to the 5,100 square foot plaza in that other project. That project had 12% affordable. This one has 15% affordable. They both have 3 bedrooms. They're both LEED Gold. They both have RPP restrictions. That prior project has about $199,000 contributions to various organizations. That equates to about $528 per unit. This project, including the Brooks Mansion study, is $125,000 contribution towards various organizations in that study. Again, equating to $539 per unit. So a greater per unit contribution. Both projects have TDM and both projects have loading management plans. I think if you align it, and again, to that idea of precedent, each project is sort of judged upon its own sort of set of circumstances and whatnot. I think that our benefits and amenities package certainly is balanced with the development incentives that are being requested in this project.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Detman. And finally, Mr. Young, if you could pull up the PDF that we sent earlier today. Excellent. Thank you. I'm now going to have Mr. Walters walk through a photo simulation that we prepared in response to Chairman Hood's request to have a realistic perspective of how this building will interact with the surrounding buildings. So with that, I'll hand it over to Mr. Walters.
Thank you. The first view, we are on the bridge going over the tracks about at the middle of the span. Looking back to the east, you see the Luke C. Moore building in the background, as well as existing townhome on the corner. If we go to the next slide, you will see the same photograph with the building dropped into it. The power lines have been removed, the bigger street trees placed in place, and you see the much broader sidewalk that we get along Monroe Street, and how it's kind of glassy and open, and you see the impact of that 6-story massing. Next. Here we're going to go down 9th Street, a little bit below Lawrence, looking back to the north, back up towards Monroe Street. You see the existing commercial buildings on the left, and next. Okay, we've dropped the building in. You can see the setbacks of the building along 9th Street. And the relationship to the existing buildings. Next. Okay, now we're on 10th Street, I'm sorry. Just below Lawrence, looking to the north, you see the existing 6 townhomes and their wall. And then if we go next, you will see the building dropped in. Okay, you see the building and you see the setback up on the 6th floor. And then next slide. The last slide. We are on Monroe to the east of the site. Looking back to the west, You see the tower of the Luke Moore School in the foreground across the street. You see the open site with the narrow sidewalk, and then you see beyond to Monroe Street Market. If we go next, you'll see the building dropping in. You see the relationship to the Luke Moore. It's kind of a nice relationship to that massing. And then the continuity of the massing going over to Monroe Street Market, very sympathetic. Again, you get the sense of the open sidewalk, the articulation that we did on the bays along Monroe, breaking it up with the reveals. And we do also importantly, you see the massing turning around the corner here, and there's some questions about why not step it. We think it's important to maintain that 6-story massing wrapping around the corner there. Also, it feels very comfortable to the relationship of the massing that we see beyond on Monroe Street Market.
Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Walters. That concludes our rebuttal testimony.
Thank you, Mr. Tummons. I think that rebuttal was well put together, well positioned, so I appreciate the professionalism, and I appreciate the perspective of what I needed. Is that in the file? Is that in the record yet?
We submitted today.
Okay. It
will be
okay. I want to be able to examine and review that. So thank you all for your presentation. I don't have any questions on rebuttal. Are there any questions on rebuttal from my colleagues looking? Okay, seeing none, nobody's raising, we're good. Okay. All right, let me go to, does anybody have any questions on rebuttal? Colleagues? Okay. All right, let's go to
Mr. Chairman, I do have
Okay, go right ahead. Go right ahead.
I thank you, Mr. Tummons and team for that rebuttal testimony and your photo simulation. That was helpful. I think you've made a comment that the 10th Street, that you felt it was important to keep the 6 stories as you wrap around towards the 10th Street, back of the 10th Street townhomes. I think that's what you said, because it creates a cohesive building and it complements the Monroe Street development further down. And I guess, did you consider those step downs on that side and adjacent to the 10th Street townhomes? I realize you have the additional setback. You widened the alley. You have additional setback from the alley. But did you consider step downs or the kind of angling that Commissioner Wright earlier asked about at a set down hearing that might have provided more compatibility or design compatibility with those the backs of the 10th Street townhomes? If you understand my question. I hope I characterized it right. I'm not sure I did.
I think the image that we had up on the screen, it showed the 6-story massing wrapping around, turning back about 40 feet on 10th. Actually, after that, I think we lose it because of the trees, but the building does terrace down, going all the way back to the townhomes to try to soften it to the townhomes. I don't know if we can bring the image back, but I think it was the trees were kind of obscuring that and you weren't able to see it. But it does.
Did your original PowerPoint have I think it had a photograph of that, or a perspective, a rendering of that?
I think we have one looking up 10th Street, and you can see it. And actually, the second to the last one also showed the view up 10th, and you can get a sense of that step at the top.
I would also say, I think Commissioner Miller, in our presentation in chief last time, there is an image in the record of a rendering along 10th Street that shows the separation between the northernmost row house on 10th Street and our building. And that setback is approximately
6 feet. 6 feet.
Is it possible just to?
I'm sorry, the 15 feet. There's a 15-foot setback from the property line, from the adjacent townhome. And then the sixth floor is set back yet again, facing south.
Is it possible, Mr. Chairman and Mr. Young, to pull up the PowerPoint and see that, and if the applicant just identify that exhibit in the PowerPoint, that page number in the PowerPoint, just so I can go back and look at it right now, I guess.
Sure, let's pull it up. We can pull it up now. Mr. Young, can you get that now, please? I do remember that. We showed it last time, but if you can pull it back up. Mr. Thomas, can you tell them where it is?
Yeah, we're looking it up right now.
Oh, y'all looking for it too, okay.
I appreciate everyone's indulgence on this, just to refresh my memory.
Chairman Hood, after we address Commissioner Miller's comment, I do have a question.
Okay, sure, no problem. I actually have one too, so Vice Chair Miller got us all going again, so.
Right?
Yeah.
Slide number 12.
This is slide number 12 of the applicant's PowerPoint presentation from our June 23rd meeting.
Let's give Paul a moment to pull that up.
Okay.
Okay, great. That slide shows the setback where it's set back 15 feet from the property line. And then if you actually fast forward 2 more slides, the view over the alley, you'll see where the 6th floor sets back yet again at that area above the townhomes. Does that help answer the question, Commissioner Miller?
It helps. And so did you consider a further step down there, and how much impact would that have on the loss of housing, I guess, and other impacts?
I mean, we were I think as I outlined before, we were weighing kind of achieving the FAR and getting the full amount of housing and affordable housing on the site. So there's a very delicate balance of all of the setbacks. Besides these upper setbacks, we have significant at-grade setbacks, as Mr. Detman defined. So we had to kind of weigh all that to determine where we could set back. So, additional setbacks do remove housing, just straight up delete housing.
But you didn't run any scenarios of or did you, that would, and how much would be lost if you did
I think if in a post-hearing submission, we can provide a more detailed analysis of how much value and how much housing would be lost if there were setbacks. Because I do think what happens too is that if we can say things like, if you just set it back 6 feet, well, that may not seem like a huge deal, but then if that 6 feet makes in a double loaded corridor, one half of the corridor not being able to provide basically marketable units, it's more than the 6 feet. So we lose more, but I think we can absolutely provide analysis for the commission in a post-hearing submission.
Thank you. I think that would be helpful. Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Stidham?
Thank you. And thank you, Mr. Cummins, for your rebuttal. I think you hit a lot of valid points. I think where I'm lacking in understanding is your coordination with those that are most closely going to be impacted by this project, by the 200 footers. Can can you help me understand some of that coordination? I mean, for instance, did you develop the CMA in coordination with the 200 footers, with a broader group, with a larger community? I completely get where you coordinated with the ANC. That's extremely clear. Where I'm not understanding is your coordination with those most closely impacted by this project.
Sure. I think, and maybe I can pass it over to Mr. Vincent to talk about specifics. But with regards to the construction management agreement, the construction management agreement that we are proposing today is based on the construction management agreements that are presented to the zoning commission in almost all projects. We start with that kind of base agreement. And it includes things like the neighborhood representative, the contact person for our general contractor. And then we go from that. And so you'll see, if you look at other projects that come before you, there are a lot of similarities. And then based on that, we look at some additional items. And here we had the guidance from our previous construction management plan. So when we talk about who are the people that will be subject to the pre and post construction surveys, we look at the 200 footers and expanding that a little more. But I think, and I'll let Mr. Vincent talk about the specifics, but again, a lot of the things that were in the previous one are just not as applicable today because of the fact that we are just not going to have the number of trucks coming to the site. When we were excavating a full below grade level of parking, that was a lot of earth to remove. That required a lot more probably specificity that Mr. Durant was talking about to have in the construction management agreement. We felt that it wasn't as necessary for this one, basically applying the facts of this case to this agreement. But with regards to the specifics and reaching out to the 200 footers and discussion with 200 footers, I'll pass it over to Mr. Vincent.
Thank you.
Thank you. Once again, we had a lot of engagement with the 200 footers. We again kicked off this whole process by meeting with them before we even filed. And as I stated previously, we made a lot of changes to the project based off of that input. I think one thing that's happening here is we weren't able to accommodate every ask that was made. They didn't get everything they asked for. But we did make a lot of significant changes to the project in trying to make it a better project in conjunction with that engagement with the community.
So I get how the CMA was constructed and what you have in it. What I'm not hearing from you is your conversation with the 200 footers on, for instance, the CMA. I understand how it was built, how it was constructed, what you considered, but what I'm not hearing is your conversation with those who are directly affected by those construction impacts. So did you sit down with them and discuss it? Did you provide them a copy and ask for their feedback? Help me understand that coordination.
Yeah, so it was published to the website, so they had a copy. They read through it.
Was there notification? How would they know that it's there? Was there notification to them?
Yes, they received it. They received it, and their main comment was it wasn't as long, and so they took the length as being it wasn't as robust. As Mr. Cummins said, again, there were some aspects of the prior agreement that aren't applicable because this is a different construction project. We did ask them for specifics of what specifically do you feel is missing from the current plan versus that prior agreement. And we did not get specifics from them. It was just, it's shorter. There's got to be something missing. But when we asked for specifically what would you like to see in there, we did not get a comprehensive response.
And how did this exchange occur? Was this a conversation?
There are multiple conversations. The most recent one is we were meeting on the front porch on Lawrence Street, meeting with the 200 footers. There was also emails, and again, the email traffic from the 200 footers was pretty limited. We had a lot of engagement with with the broader community, the 200 footers, they had less email correspondence with us.
And when was the last time you met with the 200 footers?
I believe it
Was
was,
that on the
it was
sidewalk?
in June. I think it was around June 9th.
Okay.
June 9th, somewhere in that range. It was probably a week or so before the hearing.
Okay. Thank you, Chairman Hood.
Thank you. I'm going to go along with some of that line of questioning from Commissioner Stidham. Mr. Vincent, for the life of me, and I wasn't going to bring this up, but for the life of me, I can't figure out how a group of people who were supposed to meet, one group said they had a meeting, the other group said they didn't have a meeting. I will tell you, that is one of the most disturbing things I'm hearing, because it sounds like it's with them, but I'm hearing you all say you meet with them. I can't figure it out. So I'm going to bypass that question. What I want to do is ask for you all to work with the CMA that gives them a comfort level, memorialize it. And Mr. Thomas, not necessarily the boilerplate that we normally see. One of the things that I heard you say in the rebuttal, and I'm not sure if it's in there, it may already be in there, if you damage property. I think you all said you're going to do like a pre inspection and do the after inspection. I think what I heard from Mr. Durant is that they want a level of comfort. And I believe, because that's their property. So we want to make sure that we don't damage their property, how long it's going to fix it. If we can memorialize those things so that the commission can look at it, because if you all can't figure out whether you all having a meeting, didn't meet, I don't know how to answer that question. So I think it's going to be up to the commission, but I will say this to the party in opposition and to the applicant. It would be better if you all do it as opposed to us. So if we can get you all to at least figure, a meeting is when let me just say what a meeting is. A meeting is when a group of people get together and discuss a topic. Because one group say they didn't have a meeting, other group says you had a meeting. And to me, that is the most confusing thing. And we have more complicated issues than that. So let's have a meeting or have a discussion, or at least memorialize it, Mr. Thomas, so we can see it. But I would like for the party in opposition to at least, depending upon how we move forward, if we move forward and the way we move forward, at least put that in the record so they'll have some certainty and predictability, and they know they have some protections in place. Can we agree, at least agree to that? I'm not saying have another meeting. Okay. All right. So I think that's one thing. Okay, I'll just leave it at that. Any other questions, colleagues? Commissioner Wright?
I would be interested in seeing images of the very first building that you showed the community at your very first community meeting, and how the building actually changed to what we're seeing today. It would be helpful for me to see what you started with and where we've ended up. I think the thing that is making me uncomfortable is that I've been involved in the review of projects that are almost exactly this size and this number of units, but that have been shorter and able to have a lot more what did we call it? Shaping or
Sculpting.
Right. Sculpting. And I can give you examples, if you want. I mean, one I'll mention right now is the Kingsley in Alexandria, Virginia. It's 175 units, but it actually has a 58,000 square foot Harris Teeter on the ground floor. So if you converted that 58,000, you'd probably end up with about the same number of units that you're talking about in this building. And it's about 66 feet in height, and it is has a lot of sculpting. So I guess, I understand that you're trying to work with a unique site. The site is not absolutely an apples to apples comparison, but I guess I'm concerned that, you've made some design choices, probably for very good reasons, but that those design choices have put you in a position where the changes from when you started to when you're at where you are today are not not necessarily addressing all of the concerns, at least that I've been hearing. And the images that you shared just today of the building dropped in on the site sort of reinforce for me that this building is something that could use a bit more sculpting. So, you know, I also would be interested, you know, you can only sculpt in so many places. And so I understand that the idea of the 45-degree inclined plane from the rear property lines of the existing homes may not be doable. If you then, however, sculpt more on the street facing sides, that you know, that's sort of the compromise that I'm envisioning. I think your efforts to sculpt the building need a little more work. You know, I also agree with things that the chair just mentioned about really talking to the affected owners about the details of the construction management agreement and making sure that there is you know, some meeting of the minds there, or at least in their understanding of what you're proposing. Because I think right now, I get the impression they don't fully understand that you are proposing pre-construction inspections and post-construction, and that there are a number of those things in the CMA. So, you know, I think there probably needs to be a bit more work there. I think the bottom line for me is this site does need a significant residential building to be built on it. The fact that it's been a vacant lot for all these many years is not good for the community. As people mentioned, you walk along Monroe Street and you feel like, you know, you're, that there's a gap, and it's not a very comfortable gap as you're walking along Monroe Street. It's important that this project is able to happen. But I do think that it needs a little more work, and I hope that your minds are still open to some of these ideas. I truly believe it should be a PUD and not a rezoning. I know there's been that discussion sort of woven throughout this, but honestly, the PUD is so important. The streetscaping is so important. We wouldn't be getting all of that with just a rezoning. The undergrounding of the utilities, I get it. That's huge. That is a major, major amenity that I think we're just not giving enough significance to. That's a major amenity, and it's very expensive. But and I think you know, maybe even a little more information about what you're proposing on the streetscaping. Can you install, you know, larger caliper trees from the get-go to actually have a better streetscape early on? You know, what are you know, what kinds of paving are you looking at? You know, how is that streetscaping going to really be the amenity that I think you're anticipating it to be? But I think we need to really understand what's going into it, because, you know, I believe that the streetscaping and the additional affordable housing that you're doing are really, really very important amenities that we should not give short shrift to. In any case, you know, I've been listening and listening, and some of my thoughts are coalescing. I may have more thoughts that will coalesce as I sleep on it. But I did want to just mention, you know, again, I've seen in my previous roles as chief of a development review division, I've seen projects that are almost exactly this size, but that have been able to do a bit more architecturally in terms of sculpting. So I just think that we need to have a bit more conversation on that.
Okay, great. Any other questions, colleagues? Anybody else? All right, let me do cross-examination on rebuttal. Let me just say it's on rebuttal. Commissioner Rahameen, any cross on rebuttal?
No rebuttal. No rebuttal.
Okay. I'm still going to call Commissioner Henchman from 5F, who is not joining us this evening. Ms. Amore from Brooklyn Civic, any cross on rebuttal?
No cross. Thank you.
Okay. And Ms. Kalo, 200 footers, any cross on rebuttal? Go right ahead. Yes.
Yes, I was surprised by a lot of this. Now I hear echo. Okay, can you hear me? Okay. I could ask about everything, but first I want to ask about the statements from Mr. Vincent about the CMA that Commissioner Stedman asked, that you asked for specifics and they were missing. No one ever met with us on the CMA, period, game over. Nobody ever asked for our input.
Is that a question?
No, but are you willing to meet in my home as we did before and to go line by line and to come up with something that we can give that's a joint agreement and give the zoning commission as we did last time? Are you willing to meet to actually have that conversation?
We're willing to do just what Commissioner Chairman Hood said and come
I'm asking if I can be included and go line by line together.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Since there wasn't, thank you, because there was no meeting. I don't want to go through it all. It was confusing for you because it was confusing for me. It didn't happen. And I don't think that the 200 footers understood that they were supposed to respond to a website. They sent letters, and I don't think there was a clear understanding because people wanted to be included. And if we can have that conversation, CMA, if you
Again,
want
is
to
there a question, Ms. Kayla?
yes,
Ms.
if
Kayla,
you want to have a
hold on a
conversation
second.
about
You don't get an
anything
echo.
else.
I'm gonna need, Ms. Kayla, hold on a second. I need you to give us a question. The commission
Yes,
is very well aware of the website. Commissioner Stidham echoed that. We're in tune to what's going on. So what I need you to do for us, give me a question.
Okay. The first question was, will you meet with the CMA? Second question is, will you meet with us on the proposed amenities and mitigation measures that we have not heard the developer's response? Can we meet on that also in a separate meeting?
I think that what we need to do is we are at this stage and we need to address the concerns that Commissioner Wright mentioned, Commissioner Miller, Commissioner Stidham, Commissioner Hood. I think the idea that to go back and then completely have a meeting to redo everything, I'm not sure that that is an effective use of everyone's time.
So yes for the CMA, but not for the amenities. That's what I just wanted to understand. We are willing to, however.
You heard my answer.
Okay. So yes on one and no on the other. I don't want to go through the rest of it. I mean, it was conflicting, but it didn't matter. It wasn't accurate. That's all I can say. Some of the things that were stated in the rebuttal, but that's okay. I appreciate their questions.
Okay. So no other questions. Thank you, Mr. Thomas. Do you have a closing?
Yes, real quickly. Again, thank you for all your time. I think a good discussion about this project. I would note that this project fully satisfies the requirements for approval of a PUD and zoning map amendment application. In our written submissions to the record and in our testimony, we have shown that the project is not inconsistent with the comprehensive plan, including the flume and generalized policy map designations for this property. We believe that we've engaged in a robust community engagement process that resulted in changes to the application. These changes were the result of comments we received from the 200 footers and the community. These changes included, as Mr. Vincent noted, the undergrounding of utilities, which allows for larger street trees, the introduction of live-work units, and possibly retail uses along Monroe Street, the restriction of residents in the building from being eligible for RPP privileges, the introduction of direct access units along Lawrence Street, the inclusion of street humps in the alley, and an enhanced construction management plan. We've designed, set back, and sculpted this building in order to create an appropriate transition to the adjacent lower scale buildings. We are providing significant public benefits and project amenities that will be created as a result of this application, such as 15% IZ, 5% 3-bedroom units, the undergrounding of utilities, which I mentioned before, and a more pedestrian-friendly environment along Monroe Street. We've shown that these benefits and amenities far exceed the development incentives requested and any potential adverse effects of this project. We note that this application has received the support of ANC 5B, ANC 5F, and dozens of members from the Brookland and surrounding neighborhoods. For all these reasons, we request your approval of this application.
Okay, thank you to Mr. Thomas and the team, and also to the public, the parties, the ANCs, the residents, everybody who put some work into this. And the commission now, we will move forward and deliberate at some point and take everything that's into the record and try to come out with the best decision possible. So thank you all for all the input, whether you're proponent, opponent, undeclared, or wherever you were, we thank you. Ms. Ackerman, do we have some dates? And I'll tell you, I don't know if we can do it. I don't know about my other colleagues. We don't want to rush. We want to see what we can do. Mr. Thomas and Ms. Kalo and others will let us know when they can submit. But I just hate to see us take the whole month of August off and not deal with it before then. But I don't know. Maybe I'm asking for too much. I'd like to deal with it before August. But let's see. Do we have any dates, Ms. Ackerman?
Yes, so we have our public meeting on Thursday, but it's too soon. And then we have the July 31st public meeting, but that one is really full. So our next meeting after that would be September 11th, and that is the date I recommend.
All right, so we'll carry that with us and try to remember everything the whole month of August while we're on taking a break. All right, so let's come up with some dates and let's see if everybody's on board, Ms. Ackerman. Can you give us the dates, please?
Yes. So by July 18th, if we could have all the requested information from the applicant submitted by 3 p.m. On July 25th by 3 p.m., if we could have the parties respond to any information that was submitted. And July 28th at 3 p.m., if we could have the applicant's draft findings of fact and conclusions of law submitted. That would be great. Thank you.
I'm sorry.
Okay, Mr. Thomas, is that?
We're going to use those dates, but then, sorry, we're not going to have the decision meeting until September 11th.
We usually do a specific amount of days after the meeting. If you would like more time, I can extend those dates. That's just typically the time frame that we do.
Yeah. Well, I think maybe going to what, if we have until September 11th.
I understand.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so I know we typically, and what Commissioner Hood said, and then, and part of what we need to provide is a discussion of the CMA with the meeting. I think we'd probably be better off to give all parties, Ms. Kalo and the 200 footers, more time with the applicant.
I also want the commission to have enough time to review all materials that are submitted, because they are off in August. So why don't we let me know if this works with the commission and the applicant as well. We could move it instead of July 18th for the applicant submitting everything, we could do July 28th. Does that work for you, or do you want more?
Yes, maybe Ms. Kalo should be in on this too.
Yeah, bring Ms. Kalo up and bring in Ms. Amore and also the ANC. Bring everybody up. Ms. Ackerman, I know you don't have it laid out, but the second meeting in September.
That's the 25th.
Okay, I know you and Michelle probably work that out. It gives everybody more time instead of, because we're going to be just coming right back. If we can't do it in July, let's go to September. Second.
All right, that works for me. So does the 28th of July work for you to submit your information?
Yes.
Okay. So if that works for you, then the applicants can submit all requested information by July 28th. And all parties can respond by August 8th. And then the applicant can submit their draft order by August 11th.
Okay, so hold on. So hold on, let me say something. So that case, we might as well keep it, they're doing stuff in August. So we might as well just keep it at September 11th. So cancel what I said about the second meeting in September. Let's do September 11th.
Those dates don't actually work for me.
Okay.
I'm out of the country, some of those dates. I don't know what to say. July 28th, they're gonna submit, we have to submit by August 8th. Okay, how about August? Okay, that's all we have. But the findings of fact is the one I can't do by August 11th. I'm literally not here.
Okay.
Can we do that later in August?
So, yes, we can make it later.
Thank you. That's the thing that's a hard one.
I understand. Why don't we say August 4th? We'll start for the additional requested information for the applicant. The parties can respond by August, let's see, 15th. And then the applicant can submit their draft order by August 22nd.
We
that
also
better
have
for
to
everyone?
submit a draft order, and that's August 22nd is what you're saying? That's better. So you're saying August 4th, August 15th, and August 22nd.
Yes, how does that sound for everyone?
The draft order is for us also. We submitted draft findings of fact and conclusions of law also. It's not just the applicant. That was the problem with the last case. We wrote, both was submitted.
Okay, give me 1 second and you're done the states.
Yeah, you have the right to submit one too as well. Parties in opposition. Yeah, we get that.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks.
You got it, Ms. Ackerman, you need me to help you?
I'm going. Sorry, I'm gonna make sure I do all the right things.
So if I help you, we're really gonna be in trouble if I help you.
Okay, so the 4th, 15th, and 22nd, that set of dates, that does not work for you, Ms. Kahlo?
No, I can work around it. I'll do it remotely, so that's fine. I can work on this. The 22nd is the one I was worried about. So okay.
I just want to make sure it works for everyone.
That works for the applicant.
Okay, so the 4th, 15th, and the 22nd, right, Ms. Ackerman? So that works for everybody, right? Commissioner
Yeah, is that
Romney?
enough time? And then you still want the September 11th?
September 11th, yeah, we can do September 11th. That's enough time for us. All right, we all on board?
Chair Hood,
Yes, sir.
I'm just a little concerned for me about September the 11th. I have a standing meeting on that evening. And considering the length of time we've been in all of these meetings, I'm afraid I might have a huge conflict there. As you may know, I serve on the Transportation Planning Board. And I'm, we convene at 6 p.m. So that could be a bit of a
Commissioner
challenge.
Meade, we don't present any testimony on September 11th. We just listen.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I just have to keep in mind that if we're going to have extended time, I may have to jump off, and I'm totally invested into this.
We don't
got
speak.
you. We understand, and we will try. I will try to, Ms. Ackerman, we will try to make sure at least you can listen to our discussion. So, Ms. Ackerman, we will reach out because we're going to try to go ahead, Commissioner Rahmin, and go ahead and move it on the 11th. But I know you're involved in many other things, as many of the rest of us are. But we're going to try to find out if you're available, and we will deliberate about that time. So I'm going to make that commitment now. So, Ms. Ackerman, remind Ms. Sheldon as well that we'll check and make sure Commissioner Rahmin is at least on, along with Ms. Kahlo and everybody else. We'll make sure everybody's able to hear those deliberations. Okay?
I'll make a note.
Okay, thank you. We all on the same page? Anybody that needs to say anything else? We all good? Okay.
I want to be sure that we don't owe anything. I think it's just the applicant. Do I owe you anything?
No, you're going to give us findings of facts though, right?
Okay.
That's it. I think. Yeah, I think we're good. Okay, so with that, before I close this out, the zoning commission will have this regular meeting this coming Thursday, which is July the 10th at 4 p.m. on the same platforms. We have various items on the agenda. And with that, I want to thank everyone for their participation tonight, and this meeting is adjourned. Hearing is adjourned. Good night.